Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our first in-person Education and Culture Committee meeting. So I want to welcome everyone who's watching at home, but this is the first time we've had an opportunity to all be in person in the room, which is fantastic to see all of the smiling faces as we take on our education and culture budget. Today we have a number of topics that we're going to be discussing, everything from Montgomery College to our libraries to some of our NDAs, our non-departmental accounts for Arts and Humanities Council, Tacoma Park Library, as well as McHale, our Montgomery Coalition for Adult English Literacy. And then we'll have some CIP items that we'll discuss as well, including our Wheaton Arts and Cultural Center, very exciting, as well as our Noyes Library for Young Children. But we are going to start off with our Montgomery College budget. And I want to welcome Dr. Jermaine Williams, the president of Montgomery College. This is the first time, sir, that you are in front of us in person. So officially welcome. We've welcomed you via Zoom, but certainly want to welcome you here and certainly have already heard great things about your leadership and tenure in your short 1 month? 10 weeks. Okay, two and a half months. I'm sorry. Time flies when you're having fun. Certainly just want to say thank you for your commitment to our students, for your involvement and engagement. We've already seen it and you've hit the ground running, so we're very excited to see the great things continue from Montgomery College. Joined with you today is Senior Vice President for Administrative and Fiscal Services, Sherwin Collette, who we know very well as Liz Greeny, the Chief Business Physical Strategy Officer, as well as Susan Madden, Chief Government Relations Officer, Linda Hickey, Budget Coordinator, and then Raphael Murphy from OMB. Thank you so much, Raphael, for being here as well. Before I begin, I do want to give an opportunity for some of my colleagues, if they may want to have some opening remarks. Montgomery College is a special place. It is incredibly important, and it's one of those where our council and the county executive have been incredibly committed over the years that I've been in office to making sure that this institution is supported in a way that continues the vision that we see not only for Montgomery College, but for the county as a whole. I was actually just on a call right before this talking with some of my colleagues from the National Association of Counties, talking to them about the Ignite Hub, but also about an initiative regarding our Montgomery County Correctional Facility and the coding proposal with WorkSource Montgomery. These are innovative things that continue to happen, not only here in Montgomery County, but also on the campuses of Montgomery College as well, meeting the need of individuals where they are and ensuring that they succeed. It's a beautiful thing. Not everybody has that to fall back on in ensuring that an institute of education that's of such high quality and such high commitment is there. And it is the reason why we continue to focus on making sure that we not only support the institution, but also figure out ways in which we can work together to ensure that the future remains bright for this institution as well. Being born and raised here in Montgomery County, it is one where I have seen the evolution of Montgomery College. And every year it continues to get better and better. And folks wonder, when is it going to stop? Well, I know Dr. Williams, in talking to you, as well as your former predecessors, that never stops. We're always going to continue to try and do everything we can to make sure that we're supporting the students of Montgomery College, our constituents here in this county, and that means us continuing to work together. I want to close by just thanking Montgomery College for always being a partner with the county, understanding that when we had tough times and there were fiscal constraints, Montgomery College was always a leader in making sure that we worked with you worked with your staff and faculty to make sure that you did everything you could to constrain your budget, at the same time understanding that we were in some fiscal hard times. And when it comes to times like this, while we also understand that we have seen a little bit of an infusion of cash from the federal government and state government, we also know that there are lots of issues that surround our students that come through Montgomery College outside of the institution. And so we as county government need to be responsive to those needs as well, in addition to supporting the college. And I think that, again, through the conversations that we have all had leading up to today, I just really want to thank you and your entire team the Board of Trustees for continuing to work together with us, understanding that we have an overall mission of making sure that everyone can succeed here in Montgomery County through the college and through some of the other programs that we have here that we offer as well. So with that, I'm going to turn to my colleagues. First, Councilmember Navarro, then Councilmember Juwando for any opening remarks, and then Dr. Williams, I want to turn it over to you. Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and it is really a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. This will be my last, I think, Montgomery College Operating Budget Committee session, and it is really, truly awesome that one of the things that we will discuss is the East County presence for Montgomery College. I did request that we include in the packet a proposal that I drafted in 2009, I believe, when the community was clamoring for this kind of presence. And it's taken a little while, but I think that we are finally arriving. And so for me, this is just full circle, and it's just wonderful. I want to also thank the Board of Trustees, the students, the families, for just being so extraordinary. And the staff, I mean, the faculty has always truly stepped up in amazing ways. And that is why Montgomery College continues to be such an anchor here in our county. And so I look forward to watching what is going to occur and to also continue to see how Montgomery College is always at the forefront of everything that we do here. The connections run very deep. And I think it's also the best possible representation of access to opportunities. You know, when we look at our student body, that's what it looks like. To truly, truly set the stage for access to opportunity. That's exactly what Montgomery College does, what it has done, and I think all of us have been touched in some way by this extraordinary institution. I know in the immigrant community, it doesn't matter who you talk to, there is a connection there. And I know for our students of color in particular, this is that extraordinary place. So thank you, and Dr. Williams, look forward to continuing to see what you do there, and I look forward to the conversation today.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Navarro. Councilmember Juwando.
Thank you. You all, it's great going third because I can just say amen. And I'm realizing every time I see you all, I have to get more purple in my wardrobe, and I'm assuming that's part of what you had to do too, Dr. Williams. But no, I couldn't agree more. Every time I see the little purple decal in a car around Montgomery County, I just smile. I mean, because of everything that it represents, and there's so many of those hanging on cars and on people's key tags, and you all do so much, and you always come in with a good plan on budget. You've kept tuition, but it's important to note, we'll get into the details with our with staff, but another year of no tuition increase, which is critical as the costs of college soars, as we're having this larger debate about how to get people the post-secondary education they need and training they need, and student loans being one of the highest amounts of debt, really crippling people. You all are not a part of that problem. We're getting a high return for the investment, and you're keeping that low. And so I'm just very excited about what's to come. I couldn't agree more with the East County. That's just a really exciting development. And I don't know exactly what has been shared publicly because so I won't say anything, but I'm just glad that it's happening. I think the location area that you're looking at and all the things that are moving forward are just going to be a really, really big deal for that part of the county and for the region, frankly. And so just really excited about what's to come. So look forward to diving in with my colleagues and appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Juwando. Dr. Williams.
Thank you, Chairman Rice. Thank you, council members. And I just want to share for everyone just a moment of extreme gratitude for each of you. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, the students, alumni, faculty, staff, thank you. sincerely so much. Thank you. In particular, we are grateful to our outgoing council members, Councilmember Rice, Councilmember Navarro. And with that said, we know that
Still
each
have
of
to get reelected, though. Just saying.
That's what I started out with. We know that each of you, all three of you have done so much. Each of you are changing lives. So thank you all very, very, very much. I want to thank Nicole for your good work on the packet. Always thankful to you, thankful to the MC team. And, tomorrow, it's interesting. Tomorrow we celebrate the college's 75th anniversary here, right? 1946, starting off with just a few classrooms, over at, BCC, right? And then, it's interesting to take the reins of this anchor institution at this important moment in the college's history and at this critical moment for our county and the diverse communities we serve. It's just an immense honor for me to be able to do that. And, because we remain in unprecedented times. And with that said, we continue to make unprecedented decisions, like keeping tuition flat for a third year, right? And that's important to note. And thank you, Councilmember Gimondo, for noting that, as Montgomery College is doing all it can do to really create the best and most equitable learning places and spaces for the diverse communities that we serve. And these important actions, again, are supporting our communities, and it sends a strong message to our residents that post-secondary education is within anyone's reach, right? Regardless of where you are. At this time, and as you've so eloquently stated, I now must recognize our faculty and our staff, acknowledge their efforts during this unprecedented time of crisis. Our AAUP, AFSCME, and SEIU, they've all sacrificed pay increases for this year. In doing so, our employees in a moment of crisis placed, no additional burdens was our goal on our taxpayers or our students with those efforts. And in the same vein, the FY23 pay raises are modest and sustainable. So as a result of so much that's going on, including transitions, the college has remained steadfast, and the college remains faithful as being a fiscal partner with the county through conservative spending tactics, fiscally prudent labor agreements, and other expenditure controls for wages and benefits. The college weathered the fiscal impacts of enrollment volatility, and these fiscal strategies are prudent also given what lies ahead, which is still, as I said, more uncertainty. Additionally, the Board of Trustees has remained committed to finding a path forward to East County. Together, with you, MC remains committed to continue to lead the way. I will say, as we embark on this new venture, while tuition revenue remains unstable, we are asking, and we know we have your support, but we're asking for your continued support to approve the funding to stand up the East County Education Center. The $3.3 million is the minimum needed to launch the center, the minimum needed. And an investment by the county to advance this initiative is truly, as was mentioned, it's imperative to move the college forward. And together, we know that we can continue to open doors of opportunity and expand the college's capabilities to deliver the skilled and talented workforce that the economy needs. Together, we can finally take this overdue first step, which the council, I know, has long desired. Together, we can go far. In conclusion, we know the college has opportunities to pursue, absolutely, and we're committed to doing that. The college community, faculty, staff, and of course the board and I are firmly resolved to address our access challenges. And I know sometimes we say enrollment and been really encouraging our team to look at this in terms of access, because a diminution in access, a dearth in access, those are lives that are impacted. Right? Those aren't just individuals who are taking an intro to psychology course. Those are individuals who are missing an opportunity to gain a credential of economic value that leads to a family sustainable wage and social mobility. And that is why we're here. So we are committed to addressing the access situation and to stabilize the college's revenues and most importantly, to open MC's doors far wider to advance the knowledge, facilitate economic mobility, and ensure all residents are included in the county's knowledge economy. I thank you for the opportunity to share with you today and look forward to the conversation and any questions that you have for me and the team. Thank you, council members.
Thank you very much, Dr. Williams. Appreciate that. And I acknowledged Mr. Murphy before, but did just want to thank him and the county executive for sending us over what I think was a very fair budget when it comes to recognizing the importance of Montgomery College. So really want to thank you for your continued work with the college and for the county executive support. So with that, I want to turn it over to Ms. Rodriguez-Hernandez and Ms. McGuire, who have, as you've heard from President Williams and from my colleagues, always have been supplying us with great packets that give us great ideas about how we can make sure that all of the needs of the county are met while ensuring that we're supporting Montgomery College in all of its endeavors and priorities. So with that, I'll turn it over to the ladies to walk us through.
Thank you, Chair Rice.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. I want to start off by saying thank you to the Montgomery College team. With their wonderful collaboration, we've been able to provide you this staff report, as well as the Office of Management and Budget and Mr. Murphy. So thank you so much. This staff report starts with, as many of your other budget conversations, similarly, with the council president's memo on how he would like to approach the FY23 operating budget. And so he quotes, "Our challenge for this year will be to adopt a budget that more closely adheres to adopted fiscal policies and reduces additions to the base budget while simultaneously funding the most critical direct services." As council staff has done for MCPS and other departments, council staff has incorporated this lens in their FY23 operating budget review for the college. The staff report and the conversation today will focus on the following 5 topic areas. The first is the operating budget overview, which provides a summary of the Board of Trustees' request and county executive recommendation, including review of COVID-19 relief funding and racial equity. The second is enrollment and staffing, which reviews the college's enrollment trends, tuition and revenue, and employee compensation and benefits. The third is programmatic service changes, which discusses the current fund expenditures, including the East County Education Center. The fourth is non-tax supported funds, which reviews and highlights the different funds and the changes from FY22. And finally, council staff's recommendation to the committee. So starting off with the table 1 on the bottom of page 2, you can see that the county executive recommended fully funding the college's request for FY23, and that the total budget reflects an increase of $8.7 million from FY22. For the current fund tax supported, there is a $9.4 million increase from FY22, and for county contribution, there is a $7 million requested increase compared to FY22. So first we start to look at the current fund, and the table 2 at the top of page 3 shows all of the different major tax supported elements in the college's current fund. First, the college budget assumes no tuition increase, as mentioned previously, and so the rate per semester hour is the same as fiscal years 21 and 22. The college also assumed $55 million in FY23 state aid for the current fund, and due to final allocations from Sign and Die on April 11th, the college is increasing the estimated amount by $560. Maintenance of effort for Montgomery College requires the county to provide level funding, or the same amount of funding of local funding as of the previous year. And as I mentioned previously, the county executive recommended meeting the college's request of $7,061,000 over MOE. The college's request also includes $5.6 million in fund balance as part of FY23, and the college is projected to have an FY23 start of year fund balance of $28.5 million. Overall, current fund expenditures have increased, and that includes employee compensation, contractual and operational expenses, student scholarships, and the East County Education Center. Finally, the current fund also includes 2 other components with requested county funding. The first is the Emergency Plant Maintenance and Repair Fund, which has $250,000 in current fund expenditures for unanticipated expenditures to make emergency repairs. And the second is the tax-supported grant funds of $400,000 to provide for community needs and the college's adult literacy program. Overall, state aid assumed a total of for both current fund and not is $66 million in FY23 state aid. As I mentioned before, the college received an overall $664 increase, with $560 going towards the current fund state aid, and then the rest going towards the workforce development and continuing education portion of state aid. So the third section is discussing the college's fund balance in the current fund. The college requested includes utilizing $5.6 million in FY22 fund balance towards their current fund appropriation. The college's projected remaining available fund balance for FY23 is $28.5 million. The table 3 at the bottom of page 4 summarizes the total fund balance amount for each fiscal year through fiscal year 16 through the recommended FY23. During the FY22 budget sessions, the committee reviewed the college's fund balance trends in comparison to the Council's Reserve and Selected Fiscal Policies Resolution, which was last updated March 2021. Council staff has included an updated review for fiscal year 23. And notes specifically that in this resolution for Montgomery College, it notes that the reserve in the current fund should be 3 to 5% of the budgeted resources minus the annual contribution from the county. As I mentioned before, Table 3 highlights the trend from FY16 to FY23, noting that in fiscal year 21, we see a substantial jump to 14.92%. Previously, the college had been maintaining a 3 to 5% available fund balance amount. It's important to note that both the reserves and the unassigned fund balance are included in the total fund balance in the same pot of money. As a result, the college staff notes that there were several factors that resulted in larger than typical fund balance for fiscal years 21, 22, and 23, where we see an increase in the projected available balance from 14.92 to 18.52% and to now 19% in fiscal year 23. Reasons for this include implementation of the market-based compensation plan, fiscal austerity efforts related to economic and funding uncertainty, participation in county savings plans, and remote services, which has yielded lower than anticipated expenditures. However, in order to help return the college's total fund balance from 19% to the allowed 3 to 5% as stated in the Council's Reserve and Selected Fiscal Policies Resolution, Council staff recommends utilizing a portion of that total fund balance of that 28.5 for the recommended $7,061,000 increase in local contribution. The committee recommended and the council subsequently approved a similar action in FY22 to meet current revenue needs in the information technology project last year. This recommendation will still fully fund the college's request while maintaining the local contribution amount at the approved FY22 level and complying with maintenance of effort. After utilizing the additional fund balance, the college would have an estimated $21 million remaining in total fund balance. I'll move to the next section, Section 4, which reviews COVID-19 relief funding. So similar to our other county agencies, the college has received emergency relief funding due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In last year's budget discussions, the committee reviewed comprehensively all of the awards that the college has received, and today's discussion will focus on the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund, or HERF, awards that they received. The table at the bottom of page 5, table 4, summarizes their HERF 1, 2, and 3 funding allocations and expended amounts. The college received approximately $77 million and has expended $57.6 million, with an additional $19.4 million remaining as of March 31st, 2022. The council has already approved the entire institutional HERF appropriations for the college, and the council does not need to approve funds used for student aid. So the committee does not need to make any recommendations related to relief funding at this time. The table shows that the college utilized 46% of their total award as emergency aid for students, and the remaining is for infrastructure improvements related to COVID-19, laptop distributions, technology for remote teaching and learning, faculty training and lab development, and lost operational revenues. The fifth section is on racial equity and social justice, and similar to last year, the college provided information on how they work to promote racial equity and social justice in the college throughout the whole system. So the college states they serve the needs of the community through offerings in workforce education, certificate programs, college transfer academic programs, and opportunities for lifelong learning and youth programs. Table 5 provides an updated 2021 Montgomery College enrollment summary and shows that over half of the college's enrollment is composed of Black and Hispanic students, and approximately 70% or more of the college's enrollment are students of color. In addition, the federal government has identified the college as a minority serving institution, and it's designated as a Hispanic serving institution and an Asian American and Native American Pacific Islander serving institution. Initiatives that help promote racial equity in the college include all of their
Ms.
low
Rodriguez
cost.
Hernandez, I'm sorry. Councilmember Navarro had a question.
Yep.
Thank you. So on the racial equity piece, I did look at the different initiatives. Has there been any conversation about aligning with the county's racial equity and social justice law in terms of moving towards a practice of having equity impact analyses throughout? In our case, of course, we do it with, budgets and legislation, zoning text amendments, and things like that, just so that there is a way to track, understand the baseline, but then track to see how things are moving. And with the student population being what it is, I just wonder if that is something that you've done, or is that something that you perhaps would want to do moving forward?
So thank you, Councilmember Navarro. I do know that that we've taken a deep look prior definitely to my arrival at the colleges and achieving the Dream Institution. And one of the components of that is being very data oriented. More specifically, is to looking at equity gaps, and essentially finding out what the root cause is and identifying promising practices and successful strategies to really ameliorate and hopefully eliminate equity gaps. So that's one way in which it's been done through both academic and student services areas. I know that the colleges work towards, so I would say in short answer is yes, they want to see that alignment, and the college has been moving forward with that work. I'm sure we all know the college's efforts to become an anti-racist institution. Just this morning, we were having a conversation about how we're looking at our policies through an equity and inclusion and anti-racist lens to see what the actual outcomes are, both intended and unintended, and see how that is, maybe causing, or not maybe, but is causing differences amongst our different demographic populations, from students to faculty and staff. So the college is dedicated to racial equity, and there are several instances that have been employed and that will continue to be employed to really address the gaps that we see. So.
Yeah, I think it would be really awesome if there could be some sort of a discussion about moving towards that more sort of methodical and systemic way of really tracking and in terms of embedding with, for example, any decision that is made, and of course that's really reflected on the budget, but having that data in every single component, every single departmental activity, because I always say the narrative is so important, and how we frame things is always so critical. In this particular case, when we're talking about equity, it's interesting because you almost have to flip the script. I mean, with a student population being so diverse, in reality, it's not even like it's a sort of additional effort. It should just be embedded, because that is how you're able to serve your customers who happen to be, 70-something% of color. And that's why I believe that it's so important that we, frame it differently, but then embed it in such a way that then, 5 to 10 years from now, we start seeing some tangible results. I'm still surprised when I look at some of my, old files, like the East County one, for example, that when you look at that proposal that I drafted then, the same exact issues were cited that we're citing today in terms of, the gaps that exist and the access that is needed. When I read the letter to the Board of Education when I was applying for that appointment in 2004, I can change the date and the same issues apply today. And so it is, I think, and I think that we need to start taking a step back and reframing, flipping the script a little bit, so that we're not here, 15, 20 years from now having the same discussion. Plus, it's also a fiscal responsible thing to do, because we are spending a lot of money and addressing a lot of the gaps and a lot of the inequities. And if we haven't really closed them, then I think that speaks to that issue of it not being baked into the system, not baked into the organization, not, using those terms that I know are very controversial right now, but just doing it as a matter of practice to serve our clients, our customers appropriately. So I just wanted to plant that seed as something that, we are attempting to do in county government. Obviously, it's definitely going to take a while for it all to be part of the culture change, the organizational culture change. But I believe it is just very, very, very important, and especially, as I said, with an institution that is this diverse.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Navarro. Did you want to respond? Okay, all right. Ms. Rodriguez-Hernandez.
Of course. So the remainder of the racial equity section includes the initiatives that the college has implemented, including the affirmation of Montgomery College values, which includes racial inclusion, as well as the equity inclusion roadmap for success for 2020 through 2025. In addition, the college has qualitative and quantitative data tracking measures, such as surveys and focus groups, the student success card, the college area review process, and more. So last week, the council received several public hearings, including testimony on Montgomery College for the FY23 operating budget, and around 5 people testified in support of funding Montgomery College's operating budget as recommended. The next section discusses enrollment and staffing. And so Montgomery College is the largest community college in Maryland and has residents from all around the county, as well as MCPS high school students and graduates. However, total enrollment projections and credit hours have continued to decline since approximately 2014. College notes that FY23 credit hours are budgeted at 318,495, which is a 9.5% decrease from the credit hours projected in FY22. In addition, the FY22 actuals were a 5.6% decrease from the original projection. In part, this is due to the COVID-19 pandemic as well. And the college projects that enrollment will start to increase in fall of 2025. College also notes that 2 additional factors include a lower draw rate from MCPS for fall 2021 and a projected 2% decrease in the MCPS 12th grade enrollment. For the workforce development and continuing education students, that number has stayed around the same at 4,153 full-time equivalent workforce students, and that's also supported by the incremental return to in-person learning. It's also important to note the innovative measures the college took to meet the needs of their students during the COVID-19 pandemic. For example, the accelerated courses they've implemented to help students continue their education. Graph 1 shows the actual and projected total enrollment counts for the college. And council staff would like to note that these enrollment declines subsequently impact tuition revenues and fees, which currently serves as the second highest revenue source for the college, with the first being county contribution. The college has maintained level tuition rates to support current and future students. In addition, there's also a state limitation that was implemented in the 2019-2020 school year that limits the amount of increase in the county tuition rates. For example, or stated as a community college in Maryland may not increase the in-county tuition rate over the prior year by more than the grade of either 1, the increase in the 3-year rolling average of the state's median family income, or 2, 4% over the prior year tuition rate. In addition, the college states they have faced tuition revenue shortfalls due to actuals not meeting estimates.
I have a question from Councilmember Giwando.
Thank you. Just wanted to, on the enrollment piece, I think, because, this is obviously a national trend since the pandemic, right? I think I read somewhere in Pennsylvania, their community colleges were down 23% in enrollment or something like that. Could you just talk about what you're doing what's your vision for how to address that? Obviously, the job market is competitive right now. Students, some are, wanting to get right into the workforce, help with their family issues that are happening. There's a whole bunch of macro issues, but we know that, the services and the education you all are providing will long-term will help, particularly the students you serve, have longer lifelong earnings and be able to be more nimble with their skills. And so how are you, as you enter in 75th year, in a unique time with this latest enrollment dip? What are you thinking about addressing that?
Yeah, Thank you, Councilmember Jamando. Collectively is the first piece. It's a large component when we talk about the access, right? And we have so many different educational opportunities from short term to longer term if you want to go the associate's route. I think part of it is really, especially now, identifying what the challenges are for the students who we're seeking to serve. Right, our current students and our prospective students, and we know that there is a lot going on is an understatement in terms of cost, in terms of caring for others, in terms of health and safety. So there are a lot of barriers that we're trying to address that have been created by society. So I think identifying what that unmet student need is one key component. Being able to clearly illustrate the value proposition to students. So, in higher education, I'm a first generation college student, didn't really know what it meant to go to college and what it would mean, more importantly, to not go to college. So that's another component of what we're seeking to do is how do we get, deeper within the community, MCPS and other areas of faith to really be able to put forward that message of this is not only a viable opportunity, but it's a fantastic opportunity in terms of family sustainable wage. I would say another one of those components is obviously working as we have with our needs of the economy. Right? What's workforce? What are the current needs now and the needs in the future, and making sure that we can be nimble and really produce those opportunities. And I think about the one of the recent NSF grant that the college received for about $350,000 to create a short-term credential for biopharmaceutical technicians, right? Which is going to go live in July. That's the ideal, right? So continuing to identify what those opportunities are to stay nimble, the partnerships with MCPS, looking at this entire educational ecosystem, from MCPS through to Montgomery College, and then our four-year partners, especially USG, and finding out really what those points of connectivity are. There are, and when I say collectively, I'll kind of stop or pause and take a breath after this. When I was talking with the leader of WorkSource, opportunities like he's going to be able to have data for all the unemployed individuals in the county. How is Montgomery College collaborating with him and WorkSource to be able to identify the knowledge and skills and abilities that those individuals have and see what opportunities do we have for education and training to be able to get those thousands of unemployed individuals in Montgomery County employed, right? So there's all these points of light that come together that make this fantastic, beam of light forward, but it needs to be done collectively. Yeah. We need to reach out to multiple individuals, and we need to change some of the things that we've been doing. So that's an introduction to the response.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think that was exactly what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear a collective impact approach. I wanted to hear, and I think in times when the economy is good, it's you see the trend of college enrollment, particularly community college enrollment, going down. That's just it's not a new thing. But what we're in now is new because of COVID and all of the things that you articulated. I think this is the time to dig deeper into those. On any given day, we've got 40,000 open jobs in Montgomery County, right? Middle skill level jobs. So I'm so glad you mentioned WorkSource, right? Identifying what those are, connecting. How can you do short-term, medium-term, longer-term pathways into those jobs, right? And so I'm glad you're taking that perspective as an institution as you come in with fresh eyes. I think now is the time to dig in to those and get down to those really core answers about why students are either enrolling or not enrolling, or to your point, working with MCPS. So that's a great answer. We could talk about that all day, because I'm sure that's why you were hired and to, as part of the job to help with that. But I'm glad you're looking at this as an opportunity and for increased access, because I think it's very easy in times when the economy is struggling and people go back to school to just kind of sit back and not do that deep analysis. And this is the time to do it. So really glad that. And we're partners with you in that work, obviously. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilwoman Navarro.
Yeah, I really appreciate you making that particular connection to workforce development, a really important connection that I know we spent a lot of time, especially in 2019, as a council working with Dr. Pollard and a lot of partners around this conversation of workforce development and how to strategically and intentionally tie that to our, industries as well as our emerging industries and opportunities. And it seems to me that now with, these past 2 years where everything just sort of got dislocated or whatever, but it also has opened up a lot of really cool opportunities too, right? To be innovative and to truly go deep. So I really hope that that as Councilor Madrona was saying, that now with fresh eyes, you could lead that space. I feel like it does need like somebody to kind of own it and take it, because once more, I believe that with all the assets that we have here in the county, and now with the strategic plan for our economic development, all of these pieces now are really fitting in together nicely. Yet, I think that we have to push the envelope a little bit to figure out then what are those innovative spaces where we can connect that access to our young people, or just young adults or whoever it is. So it's a really auspicious moment, I think, for that, but it will need a champion. So I not that you don't have anything on your plate, I hope that you'll take that as well and run with it, because there's just a lot of really awesome opportunities. Thank you for making that connection.
Please.
Thank you, Councilmember Navarro. And I will say to add to that is there's a Presidential Transition Advisory Committee that has been formed, and the first meeting was last week, and we're talking about 30 individuals, both internal and external. And one of the charges is to do just that, is to think about not only the traditional work of a community college, but the transformational. What is it going to mean to be transformational here at Montgomery County? So it's again, going back to my initial piece of collective and inclusive, we're gathering a large number of people who are deeply committed to advancing the county, to gather their ideas and help us, create a pathway forward. So
that is really awesome. Every time I spend time, when I spend time with young people here, we tend to always sort of think of our young people, especially immigrant or our, Black young people, et cetera, as needing to be, looked at through the lens of equity, et cetera. But it's funny to me because the reality is that they are such an asset to our county. They're definitely an asset to the country, right? I mean, in terms of, the data point that we have an aging population, but also a young population. It just happens to be majority young people of color. And so how we invest in developing their skills to meet the needs of the global economy is really what's going to help this country continue to be a leader. So I feel like in that space, Montgomery College is like an amazing laboratory, right? Where so many things can be really implemented to show how it's done. And we, for example, had this one particular initiative, was coding a second language, and it was literally to just bring to the fore young people, mostly immigrants or second language learners, et cetera, to the world of coding. But we also, this is at Springbrook High School, we also invited the folks from the White Oak Science, Gateway project to bring the renderings. But the idea was to make the connection, to show young people that, hey, if you are interested in this field, right, there are places where you can start to get ready, and then look, these kinds of jobs can be available for you. So making those, connecting those dots are so important, and you see it just clicking right away. And so again, I think Montgomery College is definitely that laboratory to show how we can do it, and it helps our economic development because companies love to have a ready workforce, right? I mean, that's the key. A diverse, ready workforce is something everybody's looking for. So it's right there, and it's super exciting. And I know you guys are just poised to really lead the charge with USG. To take it to that level.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rodriguez-Hernandez.
Thank you. And on that point, both very important. Council staff also recommends the committee to return in future discussion to talk about enrollment and do that deep dive and what the initiatives and challenges are that could potentially, that are inhibiting that and also could help that as well. And the Fed and E&C committees have also been meeting on the talent pipeline pieces with our county education institutions and WorkSource. And there's a piece of that coming to the joint committee on Wednesday, but that definitely needs further conversation with our partners, all of our education institution and workforce partners as well.
Just before you go on,
Yep.
to your point, I meant to say this, you said what you're foregoing too. It's still, the latest data has come out, like if you have this might be for a 4-year degree, but I'm sure there's an equivalent for a 2-year degree, and maybe we should figure it out. But college education, you earn $3 million in your lifetime average versus a $1.5 million. I think I'm right around there, but you almost double your earnings for someone who's really looking at money and what they're going to do and taking care of their family. I mean, that's pretty stark. College, 1 million. No college, 1.5 million. College, 3 million, or whatever it is. I mean, I think those types of things we need to really make people understand. There's always new numbers, but it's just that's something I think can be compelling down the line. So thank you, Ms. Rodriguez and Andy.
Of course. So the second topic is positions. Montgomery College's request includes 10.5 new full-time employee equivalent positions for fiscal year 23, and that's specifically for the East County Education Center, and that's discussed further in Section C. We're seeing a total of 1,953.35 full-time employees for the college. For compensation and benefits, on April 21st, the Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee reviewed all compensation and benefits and OPEB for the county agencies and county government. And so there's a summary of this discussion here, where the college's FY23 request includes $221 million in compensation and benefit costs, which is an increase of 1.8%. And the county executive recommends a decrease of 69.6% for the OPEB pre-funding, and that's due to the changes in how the sorry, I lost my note. Here we go. Reductions in pre-funding for fiscal year 23 are primarily due to strong investment performance and assumption changes. And so the GO committee reviewed that as well. So the pay adjustments, Montgomery College's recommended FY23 operating budget includes an estimated $3.76 million for those wage increases. And in fiscal year 22, the college did not request any wage increases in their operating budget. In section 6C, programmatic service changes, the college's total requested current fund budget of $274 million reflects an increase of $9.4 million or 3.5% from fiscal year 22. And that's composed in part with a $7 million increase in county contribution in the request. So the initiatives they highlighted, it included the pay adjustments and wage increases, high-risk insurance premiums and utility cost increases, and additional funding for scholarships. The fourth is the East County Education Center, which has been mentioned previously. And the college notes the center will begin our efforts to expand access and ultimately launch the creation of an East County campus, which has been identified as an underserved region. On Circle page 62, you can find Councilmember Navarro's original efforts on this expansion to the East County and her proposal from 2010 on creating this new campus on East County. The college's goal is to begin providing classes as soon as fall 2022 or when they're able to secure a lease for this space. The college will utilize the $3.9 million in current fund revenue for staffing and operational expenses, such as leasing costs, furniture and equipment, instructional faculty, and outreach. As mentioned previously, there's 10.5 positions included for the East County Education Center, and that includes enrollment and student access specialists, public safety officers, building services, staff, administrative aides, and then informational technology specialist. Council staff would like to highlight that county contribution and fund balance are both resources within the college's total current fund, and utilizing the additional $7 million in fund balance will maintain the fully funded budget request and current fund request to meet all highlighted current fund expenditure increases. Section D is the non-tax supported funds, and this is the last piece before our recommendations. Table 8 summarizes all of the additional funds and the requested amounts for the FY23 operating budget. So the Workforce Development and Continuing Education has a $20.3 million request, and that comes from state aid and tuition and helps support career programs, training, and certifications. The Cable TV Fund is $1.9 million, and that comes from the county cable plan and provides multicultural and foreign programming in addition to programs on workforce opportunities and social justice. The Auxiliary Enterprises Fund is $1.8 million request for this year, and that comes from rental fees, cafe sales, bookstore commissions, and ticket sales, and that reflects a 3% decrease from last year and supports costs related to operating art centers, programs, youth camps, and the cafe. The Transportation Fund request is $4.2 million, and that comes from student and staff fees and from parking revenue, and that's a 2.4% increase from last year. The federal, state, and private grants is a total of $16.7 million. And that includes a $400,000 county contribution for the adult literacy program, as well as it supports the innovative workforce development programs and adult literacy. And the final one is the Major Facilities Reserve Fund for a total of $2 million. That comes from user fees and other revenue. And this will also, in part, and for fiscal year 23, have $1.5 million transferred to the college-wide physical education capital project, which will help with the Germantown campus baseball field reconfiguration. So finally, for staff recommendations, staff recommends a technical amendment to reflect the $664 increase in state aid. In addition, council staff recommends utilizing the $7,061,000 in fund balance from the current fund and appropriating the county contribution amount at the maintenance effort funding level of $145,649,696. This will maintain a fully funded budget and move toward compliance with the county's fiscal policy on fund balance and reserves for the college, and the college will have an estimated remaining $21 million in their fund balance if this action is approved during reconciliation. Finally, council staff concurs with the executive budget on all of their line items and highlights that council staff's recommendations align with county executive's recommendation to fully fund the college's operating budget request while providing the opportunity to come more in line with the council's reserves and selected fiscal policies resolution.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rodriguez-Hernandez, and thank you very much to Ms. McGuire, again, for laying out all of the salient details. And thanks to my colleagues for engaging on a number of issues that are important when it comes to, and I'm going to end up using this word out, but future-proofing the institution for many years to come regarding just overarchingly how we're going to address whether it's dealing with enrollment issues or whether it's dealing with continuing to be promoters of racial equity and social justice. They all combine together. I did want to go ahead and address some of the topics that are before us. The first, and we can dispense of this one because I think that it is very generic, is the technical amendment to reflect the $664 increase in state aid. And so without objection for my colleagues there with item number 1. All right. Then what I'd like to do is actually go to number 3 with the county executive's recommendations on the other line items outside of the fund balance, and just ask for my colleagues without objection for those particular items as well, so we can dispense of those two. Now before us is a conversation around fund balance and the recommendation of the $7,061,000 in fund balance coming from the reserves instead of being utilized for additional local contribution. I've had an opportunity to talk to some of the leaders, and I think that we may be able to talk this through. I apologize because the original proposal that was proposed by staff, and I don't want to speak for the college in terms of administration, but there was concern because the reason why we needed to keep the fund balance higher is because they were concerned about expenditures with the East County Center as well as when it came to compensation. And so what I'd like to do is put forth a different proposal than what council staff has done, and then I'd love to hear from the administration as to whether or not this would allay some of the concerns they have. instead of taking the $7,061,000 from fund balance, instead it would be $5.061 million being taken out of fund balance. That would leave an additional $2 million in fund balance. Of that $5.061 million in fund balance, $2 million of that is to be directed to be spent on the East County Center, because we understand that that cost of that center is roughly about $3 million. And then the committee could also place $1 million in two tranches on our reconciliation list to be able to ensure that the cost of that center is covered. Essentially, what we would be doing is ensuring that the outlay minus a $300,000 piece of it, but that the East County Center is funded at that $3 million cost. So that's what I have in my notes that I've been able to kind of scribble down in terms of conversations. But Mr. Collette, certainly want to turn it over to you and the president to give us some thoughts about that and how the committee might want to move forward. And I'll turn to council staff as well.
Thank you, Chair Rice, and I, for the opportunity for the conversation, and definitely understand that putting forward that component. I would share another component of, in terms of the fund balance, also speaks to the access volatility, which we call the enrollment volatility, and how that impacts revenue. So the importance of having a fund balance given that time and these unprecedented times with the enrollment volatility, with the direct impact. So that is a crucial component to that. I would say in terms of the funding, the new funding for East County, we think that's definitely important as we forge forward, together. And because the $3 million is a minimum, and I'll say that, there are additional costs at this point in time that we can't truly get into for obvious reasons, but the $3 million is a minimum. So the funds coming additionally from the council would be appreciated and obviously embraced. It would help us with this more arduous process in the future. It would also, just similar to my understanding in terms of, how the county was supportive of the Tacoma Park campus into Silver Spring, and helping us maintain that commitment. So that illustration of new funds for the East County piece, we see that as, just salient to moving that project forward. Doing it alone or through solely fund balance would be extremely daunting at this time. So,
no, thank you. I appreciate that, and I think that again for us, it's very hard because none of us have the crystal ball to understand where enrollment's going to go, where our economy is going to go, whether or not we're going to have a savings plan that comes about. Clearly, I think, and I said this in my opening comments, and I'll turn to Councilmember Tawando, but I said in my opening comments about how the college has always been a tremendous partner. When we've seen the college before in terms of its level of commitment, we've always made sure that our budget language is such that it reflects the contributions that the college has made, understanding and trying to hold harmless, because the college has been a partner in the initial conversations pre any kind of potential savings plan that the county may have to embark on. So I just wanted to put that out there also as something, but I certainly hear where you're coming from. Dr. Williams, I just think again that when we look at where we are with our fund balance and fiscal priorities or fiscal policy that we have, it is one that when I look at seeing a fund balance of $28.5 million, it certainly is one that is quite large at 19%, but I understand why we need to be very careful and cautious. I would not expect us to go significantly low in that fund balance, understanding that we still have the projections for enrollment, we still have East County responsibilities, compensation, all kinds of things that are still floating out there that need to be considered. I will just say that this council, and again, I can't speak for everyone. Hopefully, my good friend, Councilmember Jawando, will return, and some of the other colleagues who then come on this council will understand the importance of and the role that Montgomery College plays will always be at the forefront. And I will do my part as an individual citizen in whatever role that I am playing, in making sure that folks do not forget just how important Montgomery College is. And when it comes to the expenditures that Montgomery College has that are certainly justified in expanding at East County Center, I think that the county would definitely be a partner, as they have been before, when it came to Tacoma Park, when it came to the Leggett building, when it came to the Germantown building, and the like. We've always been there and been partners, and I think that that will certainly continue into the future, and at least I hope so. But that being said, I'm going to turn to Councilmember Jawando and then Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just wanted to restate what I believe you said and clear it up, Mr. Chairman, that the county executive sent over $7 million over new money over MOE. To restate what I think I heard was to do $2 million over MOE, right, to cover the 2/3 of the East County Center, and then put the other $1 million on the reconciliation list in two tranches, and then the other $5 million would come from fund balance. So $3 million of the 3.3, or is 3.5? 3.3. So $3 million of the 3.3 would be $2 million. Nothing's guaranteed in life, but $2 million as a recommendation is based as funding over MOE, and then $1 million on the reconciliation list. My question to staff, I guess, would be: does it all go? Is it all going on the reconciliation list, even if the county executives, we're going to still have to consider it in light of the whole budget anyway, but we could send as a committee saying that's our recommendation, right? I'm looking at both. I'm sorry, I'm trying to look in the middle of you.
Yeah. We agree. That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you.
So does that, it's not, what you came in the door with, but so to speak, but it's better than what's in the packet.
Thank you, Councilmember Jawando. I appreciate that opportunity for clarification, and I believe that maybe my consumption initially was a little different than that restatement. So
It was glass half full versus glass half empty.
So I appreciate that clarity building opportunity for me, and yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. So I think that's a good compromise. I just I agree. I will say your predecessor, you always come in. You all are not the problem, right? No one's the problem, but your budget is something that's so important for all the reasons we stated. I understand you're coming in new. You have things you're trying to look towards the future. So we're just trying to balance all that. But understand it's important that, just like in the CIP, we put $500,000 as a hold for the East County Center. We should also, on the operating side, I think, make a strong message there. So I would concur with that.
Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you. I agree as well. I think this is a reasonable compromise. It's one of those situations where it's going to be really tough in terms of our reconciliation list, no doubt. But we always have prioritized Montgomery College. I mean, we've done that every single budget. Anytime we have to put anything on the reconciliation list, it always has been a priority. And I think this will not, be any different. However, I think that, to me, this sounds, really fair to get things going at the East County, because no doubt, when things get going, there's going to be a need for the county executive and the county council to provide the necessary resources to make sure that this is fully operational and that it's sustainable, et cetera. So I think, this gets us to that particular place, and I know it's going to be extraordinarily successful, so you won't have issues, I think, coming back. But to me, this sounds reasonable, and so I will support that.
Thank you very much. And I want to turn to Mr. Murphy, and just wanted to highlight again that for the folks that are watching at home, what it essentially adds
You've
up
been
to.
abused by that video.
I know, so I have to be very cautious now, Councilmember Jawando. But but the total ends up being roughly about $8.1 million when you look at adding up all the pieces. When you add up the 5.1 that's coming from the fund balance, the $2 million that's coming from county contribution, and the $1 million on the rec list, it actually adds up to $8.1 million. And so that is tremendous. I think it meets the needs of what the college was looking for, essentially, and really does give us a better policy when it comes to our fund balance issues, which we're also concerned about as well. So being able to have that, a little bit lower so that we can justify to folks. But certainly, again, the conversations we've had before are very important in align with why it is that we're doing that. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you. Just to provide a little bit of background on the county executive's thinking in terms of providing the full $7.1 million increase. So his concern was using the fund balance as essentially one-time funds for a long-term expense, since half of that is for salary increases of $3.8 million, and then the $3.3 million is for the East County Education Center. Also, the East County Education Center costs are going to be growing. This year is just going to, or FY23 is just going to be the first year setting it up. It's expected to scale up in FY24 and FY25. And if the numbers are still correct, FY24 is going to go up by $1.8 million for the cost of East County, and then by another $3.7 million in FY25. So looking long term, that could be a big spike in terms of how we would be able to fund that in future fiscal years. And so that might be more difficult. And if the college's fund balance is too far drained, it could be difficult for the county. If we're also in a difficult economic situation, it might be difficult for the college if they continue to have enrollment challenges. So that was his thinking of why we should build this into their fundamental MOE. So there's a guaranteed set of resources for East County and for salary increases versus trying to find that money later on in the process.
No, I appreciate that, Mr. Murphy. And like I said, again, if I didn't think, and look, while I'll just say this, while my family, well, that's not even true. I don't know who thinks I'm the best thing since sliced bread, but if that were the case and I were somehow unique in terms of my appreciation of Montgomery College and recognition of the great things that Montgomery College does, then I too would be worried. But I don't think that's the case. I think that so many people here know all too well, including the county executive who's looking to return, as well as all of the folks that are running, that understand just how important this institution is, not just when it comes to education, but when it comes to economic development as a whole. And so I can't see folks that would jeopardize the position of this county. And so they can certainly reflect on the comments that we've made today. As enshrined, I think that we do need to have a conversation about some budget language that we may be able to work in as well if it comes to a potential savings plan, and making sure that the college, is recognized for what it is that we've done today as well, and have that worked in, and we can work with staff on making that happen as well. But I certainly am confident in seeing that Montgomery College will continue to be a part of the trajectory of this county when it comes to its economic success and vitality, as well as a leader in the educational space. So, but I appreciate you letting us know and espousing the county executive's thoughts and concerns. Ms. Rodriguez-Hernandez.
Thank you. Yes, just also confirming that they would still have significant funding remaining in their fund balance after the fact. So that could also be utilized, and the college can always return to the council for appropriation use of that fund balance after the FY23 budget is approved.
And that would be done at any time. So as expenditures come about that the college needs to help to offset the expenditures, we would certainly, until December, Councilmember Navarro, and then hopefully Councilmember Dumando, long after that, we'll be able to certainly address those concerns. But so great. Ms. Rodriguez-Hernandez.
Yes, so council staff just wanted to confirm, clarify the recommendation one final time. So of the $7,061,000, $5,061,000 would be fund balance, and
Correct.
then we would keep $2 million an increase in county contribution.
Correct. And then $1 million in two tranches of $500,000 each that would go on the reconciliation list as well.
And so that would be an increase of an additional $1 million
That
over
is
the $7
correct.
million.
That is correct. So we're looking at $8,061,000 would be the total recommendation of the Education and Culture Committee without objection, including all of those different fund sources.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rodriguez-Hernandez, and thank you, Ms. McGuire. Any? No? Okay. All right. So colleagues, any other comments there?
No,
Councilman
just Dr. Williams has a look. It's your first time, and he's got that look of he's just been washed over. So, I think we're okay, right? We did okay. We did okay. You did well.
I see Susan Madden's head nodding in the background, so I think that we're okay. And then I'm watching my texts that are coming in as well. It's great to have technology these days because you can certainly communicate back and forth and make sure that as we make some of these decisions, which are right before us right now, but it is about, again, being a partner and collaborating together. There is no question that there will be some who say, who are of the ilk and say, listen, we could have done more when it comes to being more aggressive. I think you heard a point from Mr. Murphy and talking about the concern and wanting to have constraint. I also appreciate, again, the partnership that is there and understanding that while we do have some additional funds, the reality is that there were assumptions that were made. No offense to Mr. Murphy. I don't know if Mr. Murphy made those decisions, probably not, but that the council did not agree with, that actually put our budget in a different kind of place. And so we're not able to always fund all of those things that the county executive then proposed as a part of the budget. And so that then requires partnership and working with our departments to make sure that we can figure out the best way to move forward. You guys have always been there. I know you guys will always continue to be, and that partnership will always be appreciated as well as reflected in terms of how it is that we work together. So that being said, without objection, all right. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on to our next item. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Williams. Thank you to your staff at Montgomery College. Keep doing great things, and we will see you tomorrow morning. All right, we're going to move on to libraries, and I am going to turn it over to our lead for libraries, Councilmember Jawando, to walk us through. I will just, Councilmember Jawando, because it is my last time, I will take the liberty of bringing up our partners. When I first joined the council back in 2010, a good family friend was the leader of our Montgomery County Public Libraries. And Parker Hamilton did a great job of educating me. I already knew that libraries were important. I spent much of my time, especially in intermediate school, that's what we called it back then when it was 7th and 8th grade, as well as in high school at Wheaton Library. And Councilmember Navarro and I have talked about that. That was the closest library to where I grew up. And so all of my research that I had to do for all my various projects and everything, looking for information via microfiche was all there. But it was also something more than that. All of the Stephen Kuntz novels that I got that talked to me about being a Navy fighter pilot. And it's the reason, besides my dad serving in the Marine Corps and working on jets when he was in Vietnam, it was one of the things that led me to be a member of Naval ROTC and do my flight training down in Corpus Christi, Texas. It happens because when you give people opportunities to see what it is that they can do, who it is they can be, it means so much. And that's just one piece of what our libraries do. Just one small piece. But even that small piece is so important. And so it really is great to have a public library system like we have here in Montgomery County. And I'll just close with one thing and then turn it over to Councilmember Navarro, and then I'll save you, Councilmember Jawando, as lead for libraries for last. When I ran, and Councilmember Navarro knows this all too well because we split Olney at the time, and Olney was actually closed back in 2010. The number one issue as I knocked on doors was not taxes, was not economic development, was not even education. It was, when are you going to open up the Olney Library? And it says something because it says what our folks think about libraries and how important they truly are to every single thing that we do. They're tied. And still to this day, while you can do a lot of research online, and I encourage students to please check their sources, it is one in which our libraries are still the best place to go when you're trying to make sure that you're researching, that you need to get the information that you need. And there are plenty of great staff there who can help you and walk you through so that you can make sure that your information is correct. But not just that, they can help you find a job. They can help you to learn a new language. They can help you do so much. And so that's the reason why I'm very happy to see the robust support that we've continued to see for our libraries. And while our libraries have had a tough go of it being closed, we're now starting to see them open again, and we're seeing folks who are very happy about being able to go to their local neighborhood library. And so I thank you, Ms. Vasalo, for continuing the great leadership that my good friend Parker Hamilton had when it came to the library system here in Montgomery County. You have continued to make sure that this is one of the best library systems in the nation. So we appreciate your great work. With that, Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So yes, I mean, I feel like all of these budget committee sessions are sort of like a very slow farewell tour, but really a wonderful, it's wonderful to be here, number one, in person, of course, given everything. And so first, a real sense of gratitude for the library system and all the employees for everything they did during the pandemic as well. So important. I think that we talk about the parks and how important that was, but the libraries also played a very important role in keeping a little bit of a sense of normalcy, and that just speaks volumes to how our library system has always adapted, and it continues to evolve in so many ways. I actually, as I was going through my notes, I was talking to my Deputy Chief of Staff, Berta, about, how one of my very first acts of civic participation in Montgomery County was being a member of the advisory board for the library system when my second daughter was 2 years old. So it must have been 1999. At that time, the Rockville Library right here had the collection for early childhood education, and Saroj Goding, who was the director, recruited me to help expand the Spanish language collection. And we traveled together to a Reforma, which is at that time, I think it's still there, for Spanish-speaking library association, national. And we went to Tucson to look at some of these collections. There wasn't much at that time. And she just had that foresight of fighting for funding so that we could begin to expand that. And so for me, that was such an awesome opportunity because as a young mother at that time, I was in my early 30s, obviously libraries played such a significant role in how to introduce literacy, language development to my daughters. But I would always think about my reaction as a 10-year-old coming to the United States for the first time to Rolla, Missouri, and going to the first public library and just being, completely thrilled that we could get as many books as we wanted for free. My sisters and I were just like in shock. It was like, yes, never had that opportunity. And we would have these conversations with my parents all the time around the dinner table in terms of comparing, how important this institution, the role that it plays in this country. And so I say that because I think for our immigrant community here in Montgomery County, this particular institution is just so important on so many levels. And for our constituents, our residents, 1.1 million, in general, it is that place when you can dream and you can travel in your mind and you can explore and you can find so much. And so I just want to, thank you for right now leading this institution that I know, as Councilmember Rice mentioned, has such deep personal meaning, but it continues to have such a personal meaning to so many. And I'll close by saying that one scene that plays in my mind very vividly was when we finally cut the ribbon for the Wheaton Library Rec Center combination, because all of it's not a very well kept secret that there were a lot of proposals to shrink the footprint or to not put in place the, high quality furniture. I mean, there were a lot of things because of budget, right, that were being considered. And I just had to echo the sentiments of that community, which was no, under no circumstances will we in any way water down what this facility should look like. And the look on those young people and the children and the grandmothers and everybody that walked into those doors when we cut the ribbon, I will always remember that and really keep that close to my heart, because it was just a sense of awe that this beautiful facility with all of the really modern, interior components and then the combination project and what that meant and overcoming all the hurdles, the community rallied around this project in a significant way. People that had never participated in public hearings came to testify. There were parents testifying in their native language and their children testifying in English, and they were fighting to make sure that the green space will be retained, that this entire facility would live up to the potential and expectations of that community. And so there are so many particular stories and just memories that we all have. But to me, once more, the library system in general is just an extraordinary jewel. And I am thrilled that Councilmember Jawando gets to be like the one leading the charge. You're like the steward now to make sure that it continues to fulfill everybody's expectations and dreams, and it continues to provide that refuge for so many. So thank you so much again. Formally, I just wanted to express my gratitude because since the moment I stepped foot in Montgomery County in 1990, libraries have always been there for my family and for myself and for so many. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Navarro. I'm going to turn to Councilmember Jawando next, who I'm sure will introduce Director Vasalo and give her an opportunity after he's had a chance to speak. So, lead for libraries.
Thank you. One lead to another, right? Well, I appreciate that, and I was going to say you could have handled it if you wanted to reminisce to your old leadership position as lead for libraries prior. But good to see everybody. Couldn't agree more with my colleagues, and that was. I was glad I was able to experience that moment at Wheaton too. I had my whole family there, and we were all there, and you couldn't even get up there. It was it was so packed. I know you all remember that. That was just before the pandemic. And man, that was such a great, and it's still getting used. It's big time, right? Now that we're back open, and just such a testament to, if you build it, they will come. And, people love their libraries. They love the co-location of the rec center. Everything it's just a beautiful facility. One of many, I don't have any favorites of our, but they're all it was a really awesome day. I want to turn it over to Director Vasalo. There are some questions I have based on, but maybe in your remarks you can address some of them, related to some of the enhancements that we're going to talk about here in a moment. And just want to say a big thank you to all of our library staff, those present and those at home or in the branches. This ability of what we've been able to do online, the increased online activity that we need to keep up with, right? We're streaming and our public hearings that, now when we do public hearings, I can't believe we weren't doing that before, like where people could actually Zoom in. I mean, it's absolutely increased participation. And I think we're seeing that in every libraries are no different, the demand and need for online resources. So that's part of one of the enhancements here that is absolutely appropriate, and you'll talk about that. The vacancies, right? As we get more people coming back physically in, but also just to keep up with all the other demands. I'd like you to talk a little bit specifically when you address that piece of it, how this will help you, what's the number is. We got 403 full-time FTEs roughly. What's the gap? what you hope to do with this funding. I think that's big because I think I've heard in the library circuit that that's something that from staff and from patrons that's something that they all want to see addressed, and just to make it easier for everybody and to get the full mission out. And then I'd like to also ask about the late fees work. There was something in here assumed about late fees that I read somewhere, I thought, and I know we don't have late fees anymore, but I thought I read somewhere, maybe I'm wrong, about 90, there is something in there. Okay, I'm not wrong. So if there are any other, what the latest status is on that. I know, let me just talk about it that way, because I know we have stopped charging fines, but there are still collection activities happening and there's things out there. So I want to just make sure, and I've gotten questions in our office about that. So just want to make sure we know what's going on with that. Okay, so not to put a damper on anything, but I got my questions out there early, and we can address them in turn. But finally, just wanted to say thank you for everything that you all have done, the millions of PPE. I was at a grocery store. No, I was at a CVS over the weekend, and someone was buying a Abbott test. And a guy said, no, don't buy that. Just go to the library. He said they hand them out for free at the library. And I didn't intervene at all. I just watched it happen. And just I was just smiling underneath my mask and just saying that, it's just an add to the list of another way people can count on our libraries. The people bought it anyway. They said, we're from out of town. We're passing through. I don't know the libraries. But a resident who was there just doing their normal thing was happy and reported and shared a county information that did not exist 2 years ago. And just want to thank you all for, I know it wasn't without complaint or without administrative difficulty, but it was a great service and one of the many things that you all have done. So with that, I'll turn it over to our great director, Vasalo.
Thank you all. Anita Vasalo, Director of Montgomery County Public Libraries, and hello to everyone here. Chair Rice, Lead for Libraries, Councilmember Giwando, Councilmember Navarro, who's on her farewell tour, and she says, so, when we come before the three of you, we know that we have, and you too, yeah, very, very strong library lovers. All of you touching back, and Councilmember Giwando, I do know you have a favorite library. I won't bring it up, but you said that before. But, for all of you, your childhood, the impact that public libraries had on your lives, it's still there for everyone who walks through our doors right now. And Councilmember Rice, your comments about seeing what the possibilities are. As we've been working through our strategic plan process, one of the things that I really want to be in there is something that talks about the library as a lodestar, where people can see what might be possible, can travel outside of their own world and get that spark that lets them know that the possibilities that are in front of them, particularly when they're young children, are limitless. And that's a mission that we take very, very seriously. I think all of you know that early literacy and service to children is one of the most important components of the services that we provide to the community right now. So I do want to touch upon some of the points that Councilmember Giwando brought up. In terms of our first budget enhancement request, which is the reduction of our lapse target, yes, we still are struggling with a high level of vacancies in the library. I checked it this morning. We're at 99. We have hired or filled more than 50 jobs so far during this calendar year. We tend to, at this point in time, do a lot of promoting. So we are promoting from within our internal ranks. We are moving people from clerical support jobs into librarian jobs. We are moving people from part-time positions into full-time. So, of course, it doesn't touch the overall number of vacancies, but we are at a point now where we are beginning to hire for our entry-level jobs, and so we believe that we are going to be able to make a significant impact on the level of vacancies. We have prioritized the positions for our branch staff because direct customer service, of course, is the most important thing that we do. Once we are at a reasonable level for our branches and we feel confident that they are able to operate in more than just, and open the door and help the people who come in way, but being able to be creative with their programming, to do more with children's services, to get out to the public schools, to get out to the daycare centers around them. We will be focusing on some of our administrative positions. I have long wanted a youth program specialist to focus on services to our teens and tweens. To be honest with you, right now, we do the best we can for them. It's not what we should be doing. So that is a focus of mine for the next fiscal year in terms of what we will be hiring. This is a position that we are going to craft from within our complement already, but we'll be writing a position description for it. Quickly about the second enhancement for the additional 900,000.
So before you move off of those, just 99 vacancies, you're prioritizing branch staff. How many roughly are branch frontline, customer-facing staff? Do you have a sense of that? A third, a quarter, half?
I would say probably 2/3.
2/3, okay.
That's accurate. About 2/3.
So
yeah.
If folks in the community, for the millions watching at home that are interested in our great libraries, these are open positions.
Interested in library jobs, we will definitely be getting there, and
okay.
We're going to be continuing to hire librarians. Our human resources manager, unfortunately, is retiring as of the end of this week. So we have already interviewed, and we have someone in mind for the position. So we look forward to really moving forward at a huge, rapid rate with bringing these folks in. And the other important part, of course, is getting them trained.
Of course.
To be able to provide the excellent customer service that we're known for. Do you have other questions about that at this point?
No, those are kind of just related to that. I just want to make sure we can help you get that out there because we want to make sure those jobs are things that people can get into and know how to apply and get in the process and
absolutely.
And so I just was trying to know what the type of job the highest opening that you
right.
had.
What we have open right at the moment is one that is for a library assistant too. So it's right now for county only because again it's more of a promotional job. Mm-hmm. But as we move forward with the other entry jobs, my intention is to partner with our wonderful regional service center directors,
Good.
particularly Mr. Banda over there in East County. Get the word out. They have incredible networks for bringing people into employment with the county, and so
good.
Yep.
Yeah. Keep us posted on that because I think there's great opportunity there. Thank you.
It is. The 900,000 enhancement request for the addition to the Ebook collection. Since the day we closed for the pandemic, of course, we've shifted funding to our digital collections. It's been something that it's just really taken off. We are moving, we see the move from the physical collection to the digital collection in some areas. We still are stressing physical collection in picture books and things for young children. The screen time is something that parents are concerned about. They want their kids to have a physical book in their hand, which is understandable. But for our adult population and our teen population, the ability to get the books on their devices is really something that is just proving wonderful. And so we have a very long wait period, as you saw in the packet. The addition of the $900,000 will allow us to reduce our wait time for our electronic materials from 18 weeks for the high demand items down to about 9, which is similar in wait time for the physical collection. And then the last enhancement, of course, was for the $320,000 for a world language collection with a particular focus on Chinese and Spanish. And the county executive was not able to support that particular one. So I'm ready to take questions.
Yeah, thank you. I'll start and then turn to my colleagues if they have them. Just could we talk about the fine issue?
Oh, the fine, we're not charging any fines at all. I think what you see on there as library fines is lost materials.
Okay.
It's the money we've taken in from materials that have been lost and paid for over
Got
the
it.
course of the year. Is that correct, Mr. Capone? Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
so-
we don't charge for anything at all
Right.
in terms of library fines, library fees. We had a whole kind of raft of charges to replace your library card. We don't charge for that. If you forgot to pick up a hold, we don't charge for that anymore. We've really waived our collection fee. So I don't believe, outside of printing, we do still charge for that because of the cost to us. But we're not charging anything for anything. If you do lose or damage a book or other material to the point at which it can no longer be used, there is a replacement cost
Yeah.
for that, but we're also kind of
That's
generous
reasonable.
with that.
Yeah, no, I know
Yeah.
we've all been touting the fine-free and no fines and all that. I will
Right.
bring up, because I brought it up before and I still heard a little bit about it, the collection activity for replaced or stolen. If you do have a balance for some reason, either the book was not brought back and you're charged the $20 or whatever, there is still I know we don't report to credit, but I just want to make sure, I brought this up prior. I've seen a collection-like service. Who are we contracting with to do that?
You want to speak to that? Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to make sure we cleared it up, because I hope you guys remember this. And I've still gotten a couple of these where people have forwarded me the receipt, and it looks like a normal collection activity. And to the untrained eye, one might think that they were in danger of credit reporting. And I just want to just make sure that that is not happening. And I know you all said you were going to look into it when we spoke about this previously.
So previously, we contracted with an organization called Unique Management
Mr.
Services.
Donaldson, if you could just introduce yourself
Oh,
for
I'm
the
sorry.
record, please. That's all right.
So I'm James Donaldson. I'm one of the assistant directors for Montgomery County Public Libraries. So as I was saying, we had a contract with Unique Management Services, which
Yeah,
is the
that's the
organization
one.
that generates those letters that you saw. That contract we have allowed to lapse. Director Vasalo has approved that as a pilot. We paired that with taking on a new messaging platform that is called Twilio. Twilio is used by many large corporations, including Netflix, organizations like that. And that gives us significant control and granularity in the messaging of our customers. And so we felt that putting these together made sense, because if you are an individual who has an item that's been out for at least 21 days after its final renewal, which is when you used to go to collections, we have the ability to message you significantly more ourselves now, and that's what we intend to test. And so our data team has done an analysis of what we've seen up to here in terms of those long overdue materials and when they do or don't come back to us.
Yep.
And so based on that analysis, we're going to do the pilot, and we're going to see if there's really any difference.
Okay.
Because the ill will that those types of communications spawn is not really in our long-term best interest.
Right.
And all we want the individuals to do who are
That's right.
getting those messages is to just bring back the thing if they have
Exactly.
it, right? And so we can remind them ourselves now more than we used to have the ability to do. That's what we intend to test, and then we'll evaluate that similarly after a quarter, 6 months, a year, and determine how we want to move forward and what's in the best interest of the community and the library system.
I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah, those unique. And since you said it and I did, and I don't like to mention vendors, but I'm glad we allowed that one to lapse. It was not conducive, because the last thing you want is to someone who needs the library to be scared to go to the library, and because they can't find a book or something. And I know you all know that. So just really happy that you're piloting that. I'll be eager to hear how it goes. Yeah, go ahead, Ms.
Thank you. Okay, so I think I covered the enhancements, so I'm ready to take questions.
Awesome. Well, I am in support of all those. I'm sure my colleagues are, but I don't know if there's questions from either of my colleagues. Councilmember Navarro, looks like it. Or Council, yeah.
Councilmember Navarro, did you have any? Okay, go ahead. Councilmember Navarro, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, so can you elaborate a little bit more on the issue of the world languages collection, and what does that mean?
Right.
What's the status, et cetera?
So the development of the world languages collection in the county, I would say, in the libraries, has been aimed at supporting new English learners as they have come into the county, providing some materials published in their home countries, so they would be reading authors that they were familiar with, but also focusing on materials for improvement of language, things like the ACT in a different language. So what we have now is a collection that really needs a hard look. Is it serving the community as it should be? Are we providing the materials that the speakers of other languages in Montgomery County would like to see in their public library? And the collection, we have a new manager of collection management. She was hired at the beginning of this year, and world languages is one of the things that we want to look at very seriously. We know from the Office of Community Engagement what the top 6 languages are in the county. That's what we intend to focus on because that's reasonable given the amount of money that we have to spend. And there is, given that Chinese and Spanish are 2 of the highest languages, we asked for the additional funds for the next fiscal year in order to focus on improving the collection in those areas. I know because you worked with Saroj, who of course I know, and I also attended Reforma at one point, that locating, sourcing, and purchasing materials in other languages can be challenging. We work with a vendor who kind of buys for us. We also need to kind of get more language capacity in our collection management unit so that we have people who have firsthand knowledge of the language choosing the materials for us. So, bringing our world language collection up to where we want it to be for the community is going to be a multi-year process, to be quite honest with you. We have, in the past year, picked up an online resource called Press Reader. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but it offers newspapers and magazines from around the world in everyone's native language, and that's been a really great addition to our collection to offer a little bit more to folks, because I think it's 160 languages spoken in Montgomery County. To be very honest, we're not going to be able to provide print materials for all of those folks. We're going to focus on the 6 and look for other alternatives to provide more for the wider range of residents here.
And so if I understand correctly, so there is no distinction between the world languages collection and if I walk into a library and I go look for the section where you have books in Spanish, right? Those would be part of the world language collection?
Yes, the world language collection is what would have been formerly called a foreign language collection. But we refer to it as a world language collection. And so it includes materials generally in Spanish, Amharic, Chinese, some French, Vietnamese, Korean, and then we have some small collections in Urdu and Farsi at this time.
Okay. I just think that it's so important for us to not fall behind in this particular space. I mean, I was actually quite surprised when I saw that had not been included. Usually what we're trying to do is to actually enhance whatever we have. And as we talk, so much about the whole issue of equity, at the same time that we look at the census and we see how diverse the county is and we see how many languages are spoken like at MCPS, et cetera, given where we were, because again, I remember so clearly at that time how it was very difficult to find Spanish language collections. That has changed a lot because, once in a while I'm like trying to actually purchase books especially for children. And I see that there's a lot more available that is bilingual. So we know that this has been obviously a work in progress. And so it was so odd to see that this would be, left out of the budget request.
The world language collection is included in our overall collection budget. This is an enhancement.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I understand. Okay. I know that it's not wiped out, but so I was just wondering if we should put 2 tranches at least and then see how it goes. I know that our reconciliation list obviously is quite tight. But even if we can do 160 and 160 and then see how we can get there, because I just really don't want us to fall behind in that, particular enhancement. It's, as you said, it's not just for those who are native speakers, but there are a lot of people who are learning the languages and, and who turn to these resources to enhance what they are actually doing, or parents who want their children to learn other languages and also seek this resource. And, for some of us who, I literally only lived 15 years in Venezuela altogether. And there are times where I'm just like, oh my God, I'm forgetting some basic professional words. It's good to keep up your other, language as well. I mean, it's just an extraordinary resource for a county like ours. I could understand if, we were super homogeneous, but I think that we should try not to fall behind. So I would just like to move that we place 2 tranches, and then, again, we'll see what we can take out, but it would be really awesome if we could do that.
Councilmember Jawando?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's appropriate, and I agree with you that we should continue to make progress on our world languages. Councilmember Rice, are you in agreement without objection on that, to put it in 2 tranches? I don't want to cut you off, Councilmember Ryan.
No,
Okay.
I'm finished. Thank you.
I just wanted to bring something, and I'll come right to you. But on this point, I just think I want to give you an opportunity to address there was a IG report on world languages that brought up mostly accounting issues, which, again, are not to be minimized. But it did talk about the purging of materials and how we track that, and what's when things are discarded in the context of some things were purchased and we didn't have an updated order. I just want to allow you to address that.
Sure.
The policy point is absolutely right. We need to continue to expand, but I want to give you an opportunity.
So that's actually kind of two separate things. Of course, the world language collection in the IG's document, and then the tracking of the materials that are deaccessioned from the libraries. So I'm sure that all of you understand that a public library is a building that has a footprint and a size, and only a certain number of items can fit within that library. So during the course of the years of the library, materials are removed if they are out of date. For example, when Pluto lost its status as a planet, all of the books yes, I know, that referenced Pluto as a planet had to be removed because the information was incorrect. Other things are, in Montgomery County, people love their libraries, and they love to be able to get their hands on the latest bestseller when the book comes out. They don't want to wait. So, we often purchase a lot of materials of a very popular author so that we can meet community demand. 4 or 5 years down the line, when that particular book is no longer so popular, we do deaccession it. A lot of our deaccessioned materials, as you know, if they're in good condition, they go to the Friends of the Library Montgomery County book sale, where they are sold, and the profits come back to benefit the library again. So the concern of the IG's office was that library practices have not been codified in a way that would make it clear to someone who's auditing this practice either why the material was removed, right. Was it damaged, was it out of date, was it no longer being used. So that just tightening that up so that we kind of have more information about, the numbers of things that we're getting, that we're removing. We also, as I know Councilmember Jawando knows, we moved to a new integrated library system last year, open source software, Bywater, which will allow us to have much more information about what it is that we are removing from the collection. Now, I do want to go back to the world language. We are very careful when we deaccession materials from the world languages because we know that they can be difficult for us to access, and the simple fact that they may not have high usage statistics as compared to the rest of the collection does not mean that they are not being used. Yeah. So we don't, the term used is weeding. It's like weeding a garden. You're weeding a garden so other things can grow. We look very carefully at what we're doing with the world languages.
I appreciate that. And I visited a great Japanese collection with Ms. Chen, who I'm going to turn it over to in a moment after Councilmember Rice to see if to back clean up on anything we missed. But that had 15,000 just from the community collected, and we took some of your library staff and the Tacoma Park Library staff, and there. I want to find a way in this world languages. You're right. So many communities here, how we can help seed, and even if they don't either bring folks into the library that want to come in with those types of collections, or just kind of have a really good list to direct people to if they want to keep them in their own community. But this was an amazing, as I'm sure you're aware of, but just one of the many examples of a community that is thriving because they have collected books on their own. So happy to include it and turn it over to Councilmember Rice, Chair Rice.
Well, thank you very much, Councilmember Jawando. And let me just start off by, again, thanking you for the continued innovation when it comes to how our libraries are trying to meet the needs of our constituency. And so one of the ones that I'd just like to, and this is just an opportunity at this point, it's not really related to budget except for the fact that I may be talking to our Office of Agriculture. As you know, many libraries across the country have taken up the notion of seed libraries. And I do think that something with our Montgomery County Food Council that we have now, as well as our Food Resiliency Committee, there certainly is a great way in which we can continue to promote understanding of making sure that we can focus on growing our own here in Montgomery County. And so I would love to see in the future if that's something that we can look at doing. Obviously, we all have a goal to have no child hungry throughout this country, not just here in Montgomery County, but certainly through the understanding of where food comes from and how folks can play a part in terms of doing their little piece when it comes to feeding our communities is just incredibly important. And we hope that that then spawns into community gardens, which spawns into the next person who decides to purchase land and become a farmer. We need folks like that. And because your constituency is so diverse, and really because you have so many who walk through your doors who come from home countries to where agriculture is their number one industry, I certainly think that there's a way in which we can combine those things together and heighten the awareness. So just wanted to put that out there as food for thought. Sorry, bad dad joke. I'm a dad. See, that's why Will laughed, because that's a straight dad joke. Exactly. But in which certainly would love to see if we can follow up that post-budget and see what we can do about trying to support that. So that's it from me, Councilmember.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Rice. Ms. Chen, anything? I've let you relax most of this time, but do you want to go through anything I might have missed in the packet? But I know we have a pretty straightforward budget. We just voted on the enhancement to put it in 2 tranches of 160 each for the world languages. But anything else we need to go over?
Yes, just clarification. If the 2 tranches, the 320 in total, is for a one-time fiscal year 23 expenditure or in addition to the base budget?
That's a good question, Councilmember Navarro. I assumed it was a base budget, but I don't know if you wanted it to be one time or not. And maybe we get some guidance from the library staff about how does that work. Did you intend it to be? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that it would be best for Ms. Vasalo to tell us. What I heard is that there was going to be some examination of what was needed, but also enhancement. And so I think going forward, it might be something that we need. However, I would leave it up to you to tell us.
I'm going to have Assistant Director Donaldson answer the question. He oversees the collection budget.
Okay. And so part of the challenge that we've had with the world language collections is that we currently have 9 different languages that we make available throughout our branches. And the hard part isn't even just to procure those in the first place, those materials. It's to maintain that and to commit to having a collection that is a true service to that community. And so in that respect, from our vantage point, if we had a one-time funding of this, it would of course be helpful. But we might find ourselves where we are today again in the future. And so if we are looking to the sustainability of the library system in this particular area, from our perspective, it would be helpful to be able to continue to purchase in future fiscal years.
Yeah. So it sounds like then
Makes sense.
Councilman Navarro. Okay.
Yeah, makes sense that it should be part of the base budget. And again, I think it's important for everybody to know that, I mean, you have to update. You can't just have a stagnant collection. Things, change quite a bit quickly. So, yeah, part of the base.
Okay. I think you have your answer. I think that's our recommendation. So I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, everybody from Library.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. We have, without objection, in terms of our overall library's budget, with the recommendations from Councilmember Navarro of adding in the base in 2 tranches of $160,000. So we thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to our next one. All right, which is, and so I think that for NDA Tacoma Park Library, Ms. Chen, I'm going to turn it over to, and I guess for this one, it's completely up to you, Councilmember Jawando. But with this one, right. I'm just going to turn to Ms. Chen to walk us through, because I think this one is pretty pro forma straight. So, Ms. Chen.
Hi, yes. Just wanted to note we are exactly on time. Yeah, just want to let you know. Our next item is the Tacoma Park Library annual payment. It is a straight calculation, historic calculation. I actually don't want to take up airtime and want to introduce Estella from ONB and also Jessica Jones from the library itself.
Jessica, your first time before the committee, right? So good. Yeah.
Oh, yes, it is. And I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's been a pleasure working with Carolyn on the Tacoma Park, Maryland library part of the budget. And I'm looking forward to continuing that work in the future as we find more opportunities to work with each other and get familiar with each other. So thank you.
Awesome.
Well, thank you very much to both of you, and I apologize for it being quick, but it's always good when folks say, yes, we love you and we want to continue with the budget. So without objection from my colleagues.
Absolutely.
All right, terrific. Well, congratulations and thank you again. We look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you. Likewise.
All right.
And you started during the pandemic, right, if I remember correctly?
I did, yes. I just moved here from Texas in last May.
Yeah, well, welcome, and we're happy to have you.
Thanks. I'm very happy to be here.
All right, so we are moving on to our next item, which will be an NDA for our Arts and Humanities Council. And I see Ms. Jenkins coming down, and I want you to be, running down like Price is Right. Dating myself again. As Ms.
And we're giving away money, too.
There it is. We are. And the price may be right. So, Ms. Jenkins, please take your time. There is no rush by all means, but want to make sure that we have an opportunity to get prepared. And I know we also have Ms. Jackson from our Office of Management and Budget. So thank you very much, Ms. Jackson, for being here as well. Before I begin and turn it over to either of my colleagues if they have any comments, and then to Ms. Jenkins to make some opening comments, there is no question that our arts and humanities, our arts and culture communities have taken it on the chin during this time frame. And it has been incredibly impactful. We have seen so many, of our venues that have taken significant hits over the course of COVID. I remember when my family and I would regularly go to the movies at Washingtonian, and that schedule is not the same any longer. With the infusion of Netflix and other kinds of things that have also had impacts, it's very interesting as I hear from my colleagues all the time, and they talk about this, and it's so true. The acceleration of technology, to some extent, has actually undermined many of the things that we cherished that were also in person, that were great, that led to the collaboration and communication amongst people in our communities. And it was one of the things where I continue to see as I get notifications about this event or that event that is unfortunately canceled via in person because of concerns around the lingering cases that we still have with COVID and people just being of the utmost caution. I have to say I thank our arts and humanities and culture communities for taking COVID seriously and making sure that they cared about their patrons as well as their employees and wanted to do the right thing when it came to trying to protect individuals. That was incredibly important, but of course it comes at a cost. And so we on the council have been very understanding of what that cost is. That's the reason why we decided to dedicate ARPA funds as well as have special appropriations during the pandemic. I really want to thank Ms. Jenkins for her leadership and her steadfastness in terms of us not forgetting about the impacts on the arts, humanities, and culture community. Because I think that sometimes, unfortunately, people do. They think that just because they're not attending, everybody else is. And the reality is that those have significant impacts on these economic engines in our community. And so from that respect, it certainly is important for us as we are continuing to highlight how we need to build back these things that we know are so important in our community. Arts and humanities and culture is certainly at the forefront of that. I'll just close with this because I don't want to go on ad nauseum about how great the arts are, but just the recognition that Councilmember Navarro had in terms of shaping this current committee, in terms of highlighting culture and bringing it out to an opportunity as we are both rotating off of the council. I just really want to thank, again, Councilmember Navarro for her vision in terms of being able to do that. And I'll never forget, Ms. Jenkins, we had a meeting in my office and because you had some questions about how this was all going to work. and the beautiful thing was after that conversation, you said, you know what, I'm good. And it has been good. And so I am really, really happy and really just want to thank all of our arts venues throughout this county who have continued to step up and try and do everything they can, opening up their venues for other community events, right? Working with our various departments to make sure that even though they weren't having shows, what else can we do to help, right? When I think about Black Rock Center for the Arts, who was the place of our up-county hub, that regional hub that doled out food and all kinds of connections. That's what our arts community does, right? They're an integral part of what it is that we do as a county. And so from that respect, I can't thank them enough for everything that they've done. And now certainly it is time for us to try and make sure we can help build them back up to the robust way we know they need to be supported. So let me stop there. I want to turn to Councilmember Navarro for any comments, and then Ms. Jenkins, I'll turn to you unless Councilmember Jawanda returns. So,
thank you, Mr. Chairman. And yes, well, so good to see you. Really, it is kind of interesting because I feel like it's so odd how we spend these 2 years, having all these conversations virtually. And it's almost like, oh, we made it. Here we are in person. This is just great. But no doubt, I mean, when you described Chairman Rice is so on point in terms of like the very different sectors that played such a significant role as we continue to deal with this, with this pandemic. I think that in many ways, and we discussed this so often, there seems to be this pent up energy that finds in the creative process, finds it, and there's a need for that more than ever, for expression, for working through a lot of these experiences that I am convinced people are still really trying to figure it out, right? I mean, it still feels unsettled, and the creative process, the arts, the humanities are such an important vehicle, and oftentimes we don't make the connection to how it does support emotional health. It does support mental health. It is connected in that way as well. And so I do believe that when we made sure to prioritize the assistance, funds, the relief funds, et cetera, I know that for me and my colleagues, there was this lens through which we were also seeing this important investment, because it was in trying to ensure that in some way we could at least shore up this community. So of course, just, once again, thanking you for your leadership through so many different iterations of of this extraordinary journey. I am in a very reflective mood, of course, in thinking back in terms of all the different opportunities we have had to pivot and to enhance and to be innovative. And I feel really good about where we are. I will be sharing, I think my colleagues did receive a memo. I am also just, trying to put on the rec list at least 2 tranches of $25,000 to enhance, your ability to provide support to a lot of the different organizations, and especially as we continue to strengthen Wheaton, given its arts and cultural designation. I am so excited about what is happening and what will happen, right? And so, funny enough, this weekend I was out there hanging out a little bit at the Marion Fryer Plaza, and as I'm walking to the plaza, there was a mom with 2 beautiful young girls that had just finished their ballet class. And then when I got to the plaza, they were setting up a DJ at the stage there because there was going to be a Red Bull party, but it was because, and I didn't even know that there was something called the Urban Artistry Studio that was having these auditions for young people. And then at the end, they were all going to go to the plaza and they were going to have this jam session. And I was so excited because it just truly checked the boxes in terms of the different types of expression, the different types of, arts and entertainment involvement. And imagine what we'll be able to do once we get the Arts and Cultural Center in Wheaton, which, I have to thank the executive for having included funding to continue the site selection. But there's no doubt that more than ever we need to enhance resources to continue to provide that support to that very, diverse arts and cultural scene and all the artists that are out there that would like to tap into a little bit of funding in order to be able to participate. And so, that is the only thing that I have in terms of this particular item. I obviously, my colleagues will get a little tired because on Fed, we will be talking about the Urban District and WUDAC, and they do need some additional money for the Wheaton Arts Parade. But this one is more just to enhance that capacity that we all have already seen. The beautiful mural, the public art piece at Marion Fryer Plaza. As I said, these types of events for our young people, the ballet classes. I mean, it's just it's already happening. But of course, I think we have to make sure that we continue to infuse it. I mean, even though Wheaton has that designation, as we all know, it doesn't have the actual organization yet. It doesn't have, like a Black Rock or in downtown Silver Spring where we have so many different institutions, but we're going to get there. And while we're getting there, I think cultivating that energy, it's going to be paramount to really kind of, close the loop there on what Wheaton can be. So when we get to the particular appropriate point, Mr. Chairman, I will be making that motion, and obviously being very mindful of where we are. I thought, well, 2 tranches of 25,000. Hopefully we can do whatever we can there. But I just think that, again, connecting the dots to emotional and mental health, connecting the dots to this need for expression, especially in that community, I think that this should be something that that we should consider just enhancing a bit more of what you have. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Navarro. And we will definitely take that up. I'm sure there are going to be a couple things that we'll want to talk about in terms of enhancements. Councilmember Jawando.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see you, and I appreciate. Looks like you're healing, so I'm happy to hear that. Or not. It's something's happening. But just to reiterate, we love having you here, and we'll talk about some enhancements, and that's one I intend to support. That Councilmember Navarro put into place or has recommended, in addition to others. But I was at Lumina Theater last night for their 25th anniversary, and it's one of the things I love about our arts scene and humanities is just so diverse. You know, there's so many different things going on. You know, and you know, some would argue Shakespeare, and is not everyone loves Shakespeare. I appreciate it, but you know, not everyone does. They make it super relevant. And you have two young people that came up through the program, just that are now taking it over from the leaders, and we were there to recognize and do a proclamation for them. But just in that black box, that whole facility is just awesome because it serves multiple of our arts organizations. But I made the point there that, you know, the role that the arts has played over these last couple of years, which I know you know, has just been super invaluable, and the role it's going to need to play as we process everything that's happened to us and that's happening to us. This is the time to double and triple down on the work, not to just say, okay, well, we made it through. We put a Band-Aid on it and we stopped the bleeding, but no, now we have to invest. And I think the arts is an example of one of those many areas where we need to do that, to heal and to express and to just to move forward and chart a new path together. And so just want to thank you for your stewardship of the funds we have given you. And I hear all the time from people that just thank you for what you've done and how they've gotten the aid, whether it's artists, to keep them going. But as you know, this committee stands with you and is just excited about continuing the work. So just want to say thank you and glad to move forward, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you very much, Councilmember Joando and Councilmember Navarro. And as I turn to Ms. Jenkins, I just want to mention something that I think signals the arts are back. My daughter, who is very much a huge introvert and stays in her room on Roblox playing pretty much 10 hours a day, said, "Dad, I want to invite one of my friends and we want to go to the Kennedy Center to see Mean Girls." Well, you know, I had to go buy tickets because anytime that my daughter is asking to get out of the house and do something and it involves the arts, I'm down. And it says something, I think, about where we are and where we need to be ready to be to meet that need, that growing sort of groundswell of folks who are ready to get back out again. And so as I turn to you, I know that we are about to turn that corner. And I know that you see it as the leader, but certainly one in which we see it as well. And that's why we understand in receipt of your letter about what it is strategically that you are trying to do to make sure that our arts, humanities, and culture community can meet the constituent need that is about to bubble over. So with that, I turn it over to Ms. Jenkins.
With the little speaker. Okay. Thank you very much, Councilmember Rice, Councilmember Navarro, Councilmember Joando. Thank you so much. Several of you have known me since my hair was black. It's very odd looking in this and seeing that, but the heck, it is what it is, right? Wow, we have done some great stuff together. So there are so many things I wanted to say from your comments, but first of all, Councilmember Navarro, tengo fe. Because when we started, and I came to you with issues of equity, all of you rolled up your sleeves together, and we said we were going to tackle it. And it wasn't easy. It was really hard. And while I know that you cannot lean into the desires of one constituent or one constituent group, when I read in the race equity resolution that the arts were in the very first sentence, I knew we did it together. I'm grateful for that. Wheaton. As you know, I grew up in Puerto Rico, and that the ring that I wear from my quinceañera is from Venezuela, and that I am deeply, deeply connected to communities of color. Whether I am attending their events every day or by the month or whatever, I am deeply committed to them because as a biracial woman in America, there's a lot to that. And so bringing a world-renowned artist to install a piece of work in Wheaton, to let the community know that that they were worthy, that we belong. We are worthy of a world-renowned artist who made this incredible steel structure, Meet Me at the Triangles, that has these great bronzed ballet slippers in them, just makes me know that we're doing the right thing together. And that doing the right thing together is challenging and difficult, and it has required that some skin sometimes got left on the pavement, but not without reason. And so when I think about the VUCA moment that we're still in, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, and the difficult decisions that you have to make every day, you know what I am about to say, you know what our needs are. But I strive to be a good civic partner with you. I strive to be a leader who understands both the community and the challenges of running a multicultural, multinational community that is Montgomery County, that is far unlike many of the communities in this state. At 160 languages, we are striving to try to figure out how to provide library services, health and human services, economic development in a way through this equity lens that really, I think, should bring us to our knees in a way that makes us fully accountable for these difficult decisions that we make. So you're right, Councilmember Rice, our knowledge of safety and blocking is unlike any other sector, maybe other than the medical profession, in that we have to understand safety. We've seen that in the headlines, as you've seen with American Rust. When you don't take safety into account, whether it's the arts or entertainment, people suffer. And so we don't take that lightly. We don't take that lightly at all. And I know that the arts organizations that serve in Montgomery County do not take it lightly. And so coming back, being able to serve was really, really quite important. And the idea that only in Western culture is the word art kind of pulled apart from community. But in the communities I grew up in, and the communities that many of you probably grew up in, that word that doesn't have the kind of weight that it has, that it's separate from the community, that it is the community. And without this artistic expression, the community actually is fractured. And so being able to integrate it into the county's budget in the way that we have worked hard together to do that remains critical, so that we no longer think it as something that's just nice to have, but something that buoyed our spirits and frankly was a lifesaver to many who weren't able to get out into the world and do other things. So, I guess I'll say that, we've asked for a budget increase of $2 million over that the county executive proposed, and it certainly does not mean that we are not grateful. But it is certainly a demonstration of need. And we see that through the pandemic, we saw lots and lots more stating need, not just, I want my budget to be bigger, but I just need money. And so the way we were able to pivot, hate that word, but it is what it is, and turn around and say, look, if you got money, just keep it. That has buoyed the community such that we have not lost not one organization during the pandemic, not one. And in a community of 1.2 million people, I tell you that it's a huge sense of pride that I'm able to report that to you today. While there may have been some mergers, may people do different things that they did before, no one closed their doors permanently. And I think that we all, we have a lot to be proud of there. So, because well-behaved women seldom make history, I'll just say today that I'm going to keep pushing to ask you to do everything you possibly can to support the sector. That I'm going to tell you how grateful I am that I know you all personally, and you know me, and you know what we're trying to do here together. And I'll just thank you very much, you and the county executive, for everything that you've done for the 14 years I've been here and what we're doing for the future to lay down the groundwork for not the community that I'm in, and frankly, not the community that you're in, but the community that your children are in, the community that your children's children are in, the community that your grandchildren will eventually be in. This is the work that I'm hoping that we do together. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to turn to Ms. Chen to walk us through the packet, but I do want to thank the county executive and Ms. Jackson with OMB for recognizing the importance of the arts and humanities and culture in our community. It is one where there is no question that while we don't have a lot, we do need to allocate to support economic engines that continue to provide an opportunity for us to have better outcomes.
That's it.
Right? And by that, meaning that the more our business entities, which includes our arts organizations, are successful, the better we all are. Reduced, reliance upon taxes and better economic outcomes for individuals means less government services relied upon. So just as we invest in Marriott or invest in Novavax or anything else that we would when it comes to a business that rightfully so is going to do great things in this community, so too are the arts. And so from that standpoint, as you said, Ms. Jenkins, while many close their doors for long periods of time, they are opening back up. And it is incredibly important for us to make sure that as they do, we ensure that they are successful, just like many of our other restaurants and other businesses that we have provided support to. So with that, let me turn it over to Ms. Chen to walk us through some of the recommendations that she has, an analysis of the county executive's budget, and then we will entertain motions from the committee about enhancements on top of what the county executive has proposed. So with that, Ms. Chen.
Great. Hello, everyone. Going over the county executive's recommendation, which was a 6% increase, inflationary increase to the entire arts NDA. That is an increase to the base budget. In addition, a $150,000 one-time increase for fiscal year 23. That is recommended. Council staff recommended to approve that, as well as look at options of increasing in a one-time amount of $367,000 to meet the 2-year need demonstrated by the statistics outlined on page 3 for the 5 categories that impact the most diverse and small size arts sector, individual organizations, and community. And that's it.
Thank you very much. And so what I'd like to do, colleagues, is dispense of the things that are before us, and then we can go to the others. So we have the county executive's recommended budget that was before us. That was the increase of the 460. What was it, Carolyn? I'm sorry. 450. So we have that, and so that's without objection. Okay. Then we have Ms. Chen's recommendation. Council staff recommends an additional $367,023 above, recognizing the need for some of our most diverse arts and humanities and culture organizations. And so we have that recommendation. Is that without objection? Excellent. And so now I will turn to Ms. Navarro, since she was first, and then I'll turn to Councilmember Juando, who may have some additional as well. So Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so what I am proposing is a total of $50,000 in two tranches of $25,000 on the reconciliation list for the Wheaton Cultural Project grants. And as we all know, this is a very important initiative within the Montgomery County Arts and Humanities Council, and it supports really impactful projects within the Wheaton community and provides professional opportunities for artists and scholars to work in Wheaton. We know that this is a very important time to strengthen our investment in the arts organizations and artists and building the capacity needed to fulfill the state's arts and entertainment designation in Wheaton. As we all also know, unlike Silver Spring or Bethesda, Wheaton does not have a cultural facility, but, you know, we are very hopeful that the Wheaton Arts and Cultural Center will actually come into fruition and therefore will begin in earnest to fulfill the promise of Wheaton as a arts and entertainment district. This, again, will be really important, I think, in encouraging and sustaining that cultural ecosystem, which we know has already begun and is quite vibrant. And we know that there's just a lot more capacity out there that we have not tapped into. And so the idea is to provide these additional dollars to continue that momentum as we also work through getting, hopefully in the near future, the Arts and Cultural Center up and running. So that's my proposal. Two tranches of $25,000 for the Wheaton Cultural Project grants.
Is there any objection to adding the two tranches of $25,000? Seeing none, that is approved as well.
Thank you.
Councilmember Juando.
Yeah, I appreciate everything that's been said, and you see how I'm glad you said it so we could quickly move through the additions. And you see we are there with you, and we'll push hard for them. And I think this one in particular is going to be a tough reconciliation budget for everybody. But I think all of our colleagues understand how important this has been. We haven't lost an organization. What this means, the work yet to do. Things that are in disrepair, all the public arts conversation, go down the list of things we need to do. And this is an area where we must invest. And I just want to thank you for your stewardship and your boldness. We've tried to be there to support you. I don't have an addition, just to say that, I think this is appropriate, and I hope that we can keep all of it in. Yeah. Thank you.
So, colleagues, and as chair, I don't like to make motions myself, but did just want to bring about a conversation about this, because I really do think that, especially when we're talking about reopening, and we did something similar with our restaurants, when it came to just helping them to get their doors open and get back on track, especially when it comes to marketing, those kinds of things, hiring additional staff and getting them back in, because we know how hard it is to hire staff now. If we would consider doing something in the neighborhood of two tranches of $125,000 for a total of $250,000 to deal specifically with reopening grants, something that I think would help these entities to be able to try and get their doors open and get staff back in to bring folks in. Again, I know that we've got a tight reconciliation list. I understand. Council President's going to kill me after this. But I just think, again, as we've had these conversations about specifically with our restaurants and others, and, our arts folks have experienced basically the same thing that our restaurants did in terms of from the reopening standpoint. I just think that it would be good, even if we could get one of those tranches off just to help folks with that piece of it, to get them started. I think that would be great. So just wanted to put that out there for your thoughts. So it would be $125,000 in two tranches. That would be reopening grants that then HCMC could utilize to be able to. And I'd love for you to speak to this. I'm going to be honest, I did not talk to Ms. Jenkins about that. I just know that from what I've heard and talking to other individuals in the community, that these are things that folks are concerned about. So if you'd like to weigh in, Ms. Jenkins, in terms of whether or not you think this may be helpful and may be something that you might be able to utilize.
Absolutely. Now, I'll say that the issue has been that with audiences being so cautious.
See, that's what happens when you start proposing additional money on the rec list, folks.
Oh, my.
Bear with us for one moment
Timing
here.
on the light went out because it doesn't seem like the electricity is out, right? Oh, yeah. All right, council member and technician.
Well done, Councilmember Juanda.
Not sure I did anything.
Multitasking on the technician part.
Councilmember and grip.
Yeah. Yeah, we pay well in the arts for that. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to know better what the council is thinking about the ARPA funds and what that final number is. But yes, all of that is critical because what we see with this audience hesitancy is that we are still needing to change the way that seating is done. We still have to, and people are now dependent on a hybrid model, so people need more training as far as that is concerned. And one of the things I wanted to say is that, you know, we're in the middle of this cultural planning research that we've been talking to you about. We're going to learn a lot more about communities that need to be brought into the fold. So all of this, any funding that we can get to get people back, to help them with the marketing, to let audiences know they're safe, to figure out where we haven't been that we need to go to. I'm not going to say no to anything because right now I have never seen the community in need. And, you know, as I've told my colleagues, I don't know if the creator has a sense of humor that I'm not tapped into, but it's clear that it must be true. Being able to go through the recession in 2008 and 9 and 10 with many of you, and now are very different times. This was a complete shutdown of the world versus what we saw with the Great Recession. So this has people coming back to it very differently than I saw in 2008, 9, and 10. And so any support that we can give to the community to help them enhance their marketing so that they can move out and get to what we've seen is this ability to look at, you know, your resident audiences and greater audiences, and that's been wonderful. But that education and what's needed from a technological standpoint, that still is something that could be covered, and marketing all of that to new audiences, diverse audiences, very different. And so all of that support could be well utilized, I'm sure.
And to my colleagues, to Ms. Jenkins' point, we also have ARPA funds that we've been talking about and allocating, and some of that has been for those kinds of things. So depending on the decisions that we make in moving forward with ARPA may impact what we need to take off the reconciliation list from that standpoint too. But I think it's having a placeholder specifically for this work makes sense until we know where we're going to land when it comes to ARPA funds, and then we can decide from there, in addition to the other things that we already have on the rec list. So without objection from my colleagues, we're good to go there. Okay. And so, yeah, Ms. Jenkins, let me just say again, please, as the leader, please tell your troops how much we appreciate them, how important they are, and how people are looking to get back to being a part of their army. It is incredibly important for us. It has always been a staple of what we are. And as the young man who grew up singing Jubilation T-Corn Pone with Lil Abner, these things all have impacts on us. They do, and they never go away. I mean, and it was something where it's those kinds of things that lead to confidence, that lead to the ability. And it was funny, my mother was joking the other day, and she heard some Temptation song, and she was telling my daughter, you know, your dad was in a talent show and they won first place in a talent show for doing that. My daughter looked at me like, what? They don't know who we are. But it speaks to who we all are. Right. We all have had those experiences, whether it's designing a beautiful piece of art that so many people appreciate each and every day, to a performance that was one of your highlights of your life that no one else will ever know about, but you know about it. Those are the kinds of things that, again, shape who we are. And that's why, as you said, the arts is an integral part of us as a community and always will be. So I thank you for your leadership, and I think that we're all set. Oh, there's one more. I'm sorry.
Just one question for the record as well, or it's more of a confirmation. The 6% inflationary increase is the only addition to the base that's recommended right now. All other proposals by the committee are one-time expenditures, and we'll sort through that for fiscal year 23.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. So with, yes, Councilmember Navarro, please.
One last comment, because I didn't want to let this pass. I appreciate how you framed the notion of what happened during the recession versus what's happening now and how different it is. This is important for folks to understand. Time and time again, I am in awe of how there seems to be this sort of push to pretend that we're back and everything is just the way it always was, when things have absolutely shifted. And I understand, because it's frustrating, and trust me, I am as, burnt out, I think, as many people are because of this pandemic. But we do need to be a little bit kinder to each other as we figure out exactly how things will be from now on. And as you just described, this is just one example in the arts and humanities, sector, but it's the same thing, in the education sector, in the healthcare sector. I mean, everywhere we're still trying to figure out, what is going to be exactly the way it was and what is not going to be exactly the way it was. So I appreciate you saying that. I think we need to do that more, so that we can, collectively figure it out together, versus there's just a lot of division, I think, still out there in the public realm about, whether we're all the way back, period, nothing changed, and then others who are saying, wait, hold on,
No.
We have to figure out what this new reality really looks like, feels like, and how we can make the best out of it. And I'm optimistic that actually we can actually do some really cool things, moving forward. So as always, I think in the arts space, people tend to lead when it comes to innovation and creativity. So that just really resonated with me when you said that.
Thank you. If it's all right, I just want to make this one more comment, and that is that things are so different, and this is how different they are. In 2008, 9, and 10, when I saw the disparities that were happening, I did not have the agency, the personal agency, to speak publicly about race inequity. I did not have it. Here we are, just a few years later, and none of the four of us will ever step back from talking about race inequity again, because it is critical in these conversations. So there are many things different, but that difference, and seeing our budget, frankly, I was shocked and amazed and excited to see how our budget analyst viewed the Arts and Humanities Council when we had to submit for the additional appropriation. I was in awe of the rigor of that review. And so now there are many things we can't step back from. But when you combine that difference with this agency to never step back in conversations about race inequity, we are in a way different place, Councilmember Navarro, thanks to all of your leadership, yours in Wheaton, yours, Councilmember, with the way that we're looking at it under your direction, and yours, Councilmember Joando, simply by what you wore when you were inaugurated, on the day that you took your oath. Simply those things we did not have the agency to do before. I'm very grateful that we do now.
Hear, hear. Well, all right. We have a budget that's before us, so we'll be moving forward to the council. Thank you so much, Ms. Jenkins. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And we will move on to Mikhail. All right, and as Ms. Stevens and Ms. Parkinson make their way down, we've got Ms. Lambert from our Office of Management and Budget, so welcome. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Chen to walk us through the packet, but just wanted to highlight again as we talk about getting folks back to work. One of the things that always is at the forefront of that is making sure that English literacy is an important part of that. And actually, it's interesting as we transition from arts and humanities to Mikhail. If anyone hasn't watched Coda, please do. And it's not even about the whole movie, but at the very end, when for a moment, the movie goes silent. And you get a second to experience what it's like to be deaf. And things are going on around you and you have absolutely no idea. And those same things apply to a person who doesn't have English literacy. As they stand there in a store, as they stand there at a sporting event, as they stand there in an arts venue, as they stand there in line at the grocery store. And without English literacy, it's very akin to being deaf in a hearing world. Having no idea about what's going on around you. And as we talk about inclusion, as we're talking about making sure that everyone is involved in our community, means that folks need to have mastery of the English language to be able to ensure that they can be and take part in us as a collective. So I really want to thank you, Ms. Stevens. I want to thank the board, including Ms. Parkinson as the chair of the board for this current time frame. But Mikhail for so long has continued to meet the needs of our community when it comes to promoting English literacy and working with so many partners in our community to enhance that English literacy for all. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to opening comments. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Stevens for some opening comments.
Thank you. It's so good to be here in person today, and thank you to all of you for your time. I know it's been a long afternoon, but we appreciate your attention. And I just want to introduce quickly my board chair, Stacy Parkinson. She's just going to say a couple sentences of thanks for you all, and then Carolyn can walk us through, or I can give you details, whatever you wish first. So Stacy is one of the most strategic and creative and supportive people that I know to come through Mikhail's doors, and I'm just happy to be able to have her here today.
Thank you, Kathy. And on behalf of the board and all of the programs that are supported through the efforts of Mikhail, through the county, and provide English language learning to adults in our community, thank you for the support, the ongoing support you've given Mikhail. I'm actually an instructor as well, and I am currently, about 6 weeks ago, took on a position at a community learning group. I teach a group of adult men at a local landscape company beginning English. And to watch the light bulbs go off and the wheels turn is truly exciting and such an opportunity that I really appreciate. And Kathy will speak more to the need for more of these community learning groups, for more instructors like myself, so that we can support opportunities like this. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you our gratitude on behalf of the board, and thank you so much.
So I can go through a little bit of our increased need, Carolyn, that's okay with you? Okay. We've been doing a lot, and we have a lot that has just recently come to us. As you know, we continue to support all of our grant partners, all of our training, and all of that kind of thing. But I would say in the past month or so, 3 priority areas have really bubbled back up. And this is natural, right, with kind of the reopening, things that we've all been going through with the ups and downs of the pandemic. First, community learning groups. This is something we started about a year ago, knowing that we needed to have more entry opportunities, safe spaces in communities where our learners are, with two major goals: filling the pipeline for learners to go on to other programs, whether it was citizenship, other programs at Montgomery College, workforce, other educational opportunities. So it's a pipeline, it's a pathway for folks to get started. But also, and this is part of our race equity action plan, strategic plan that we have as an organization, from our data that we've collected over the years, the surveys of instructors and provider staff, we know that most of our instructors over the years have been white, middle-aged women. They're the ones who had time to do it. There are a lot of reasons around that. But as we've done our own equity learning through McHale and set some benchmarks, we know that there is value in having people at the, quote, front of the room. Nothing's at the front of the room in English learning, but people who are teaching, who come from those communities, might have ESOL experience of their own as they were learners. So we're really making a concerted effort through the community learning groups. We're training different cohorts. I think we've done 3 so far of new instructors who come from those communities, because not only does it meet the metrics that we've set out in terms of our race equity plan, we know we need more instructors, which I'm going to talk about in a moment too. But these community learning groups, we just recently have had interest, I would say in the last 2 months, from about 150, 160 new learners. And we have different partners we're reaching out to. There's a group of parents at Rolling Terrace that we're going to be starting work with. There's and I'm going to get some of these wrong, Portuguese church in Upper Silver Spring, close to Wheaton, that we're going to be working with. We have the program, the class that Stacy spoke to, which is a workforce community learning group. We're asked by a Chick-fil-A franchise in East County to work with their employees, and they have told some other franchises about that as well, and so we're expecting some more. And so these really run the gamut of entry places for people where they where they feel safe starting to take classes, and we're able to expand. And these classes are mostly for low-level learners, beginner, maybe even literacy learners who are not quite ready to step into a more formalized program yet. They're very cost-effective for us. As I put, I think, in my information, they might be about $2,500 for one of these groups for 8 or 9 weeks to start. It's a really important starting place. And we also have part of the curriculum talking about our other programs in that. So we hope to do probably 20 of these over the next fiscal year, which we're seeking a little additional funding for. Very cost effective. We know we can serve a large number of learners, and it fits with the whole pathway of diverse opportunities for the coalition. In addition, recently, and I'm going to go to priority number 2. So priority number 1, community learning groups. Priority number 2, more training for more instructors. This is not a new issue. It's coming back in a way that we hadn't seen over the past 2 years of pandemic conditions, but we do know that there is a lack of qualified instructors. All of our programs are saying, McHale, can you help us train more, find more, and get them in place? In fact, just last week or the week before, we had a contact from one of our partners at Montgomery College saying they had about another 150, 160 intermediate and advanced level learners who they couldn't place because they didn't have the instructors. So we're working, my staff is working probably as we speak. We've got at least 3 new classes we've identified with programs like Linkages to Learning, Catholic Charities. We're reaching out to some of our larger programs. They're going to be able to take that on. Again, the value of the coalition, the coordination, knowing what's what, and being able to be that coordinating body that I know the county government entrusts us with that ability. We also, I should have mentioned this in the community learning groups, we're also doing some community learning groups for child care workers, which has been very successful. We want to continue. We know, obviously, I'm part of the Montgomery Moving Forward effort on early care and education. That has been a priority, and we know we need to be a part of that. So training child care workers for that has been very important for us. Retaining instructors is also important. It's been at least 3 or 4 years since we've taken a coalition-wide look at pay rates for instructors. These are hourly. These are not, there might be 5 or 6 hours a week that they teach. These are not high-paying jobs, but as we've seen with the Great Resignation and things shifting, we want to be able to, another way we can help our programs is making sure that, if possible, programs can give some pay increases, not huge ones, but what will be deserving for these very hardworking instructors, and or continue to serve more learners with that. And then lastly, priority always is our grants. We have great partners out there. You all know many of them, and they've serving incredible numbers of learners. We have an increase of about $175,000 in our ask amount. We're just starting our spring grants program. We take a look at that very carefully. We are very careful with our funding, but we're also, part of our equity plan is to look at our equity and our approach with our grant funding and making sure that we're just not feeding money into continual, we want to maintain all of our programs, but what are we missing if we're continuing same systems, same delivery? I'm hoping that this year, or part of our strategic planning, will do a full grants audit, like some of the larger, like Meyer Foundation has done, some things like that. We need to get that in the budget. We need to have time for that. But what we have done is we were able to do a mid-year grant process for what we're calling startup grants. And we gave 3 grants, one to the Francophone African Alliance, which is an East County organization, one to Kings and Priests Court International Ministries. Again, I'm 99% sure they're East County, and also the City of Light Islamic Center. And again, we're trying to look very carefully at groups that just need a little boost to get started, and that also tap into communities that perhaps we've not served as well as we possibly could. So that's, we really want to continue to make that look with our grant making to make sure that we are looking across lines of equity. And, you know, as I think it was said when you all were talking with the college earlier, we know obviously we serve immigrants, communities of color, but we need to do that rigor to look to make sure that we are serving in a way that really puts our equity lens on in focus at the beginning. And so I'd say those are our 3 priority areas for which we've made an additional request. And I will stop there and turn it back to you, Chairman Rice.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm going to just turn to the packet, and Ms. Chen has laid out the request of the additional somewhere between $33,000 to $83,000, a little bit closer to a 7 to 10% increase. I will say that, and I am on the Health and Human Services Committee, we have already put forth 2 recommendations on our reconciliation list for 2 tranches of 2%. For our nonprofits, and so you would be the beneficiaries of either one of those tranches if they made it off of the reconciliation list. One would get you at 8%, and the other would get you at 10%. And so from that perspective, instead of doling out for each individual group, we'd like to do it as a collective of all of our nonprofits, not to seek out individuals and say, we're going to do it for this one, because then everyone's going to come and ask us for the same thing. So that would be my recommendation, because we already have it on the reconciliation list. That does get you closer. It is our hope, and certainly you've got 3 members here who are supportive of the great work that Mikhail does. We love all of our nonprofits in the community that are doing great work. And so as we appreciate where the county executive has gotten us with an across the board 6%, certainly anything that we might be able to build on top of that, we know will go to great use, as you've espoused earlier today. But did want to turn to my colleagues if they have any comments, or if not, we can just go ahead and move forward. But I did just want, Councilmember Jawando.
I'll just say, you know, I'll support, I'm going to support the full 10%. Councilmember Will Jawando. That'll be, when we do our process, I think that what you all have done collectively, and then Mikhail's, obviously your mission is super important, and I appreciate you trying to reach out to different communities, and I know several of those ones you mentioned, so I didn't know they were actually a part of your getting into their foot into the network you're talking about, the African immigrant community that you're those organizations that you just mentioned. You know, so I hope that, but the way it's set up, I think it's likely to, hopefully we get both, but you at least, I think, you know, there'll at least be, you know, I don't want to prognosticate, but, you know, there will be something. So, but very supportive of it. So just wanted to say thank you and appreciate if you want to comment, you can.
No, I just want to say thank you very much. That's appreciate that, and glad you know of those other organizations. It's important to us.
Yeah, it's like that. Again, I've been dating myself as of recent, but the magic 8 ball where it's like all signs point to yes is one of the things that comes up. It's like there's a lot of support around building on what the county executive did. A great base of recognizing that over the past couple of years we've asked you to do a lot more, and there needs to be and I just really want to chime in just very quickly on the community learning groups, because again, as we talk about taking it to the people, right? And we talked about that with our hubs, and that's the reason why we do our hubs. Same thing applies here. You got to take it to the people, right? It makes it easier for them. Expecting somebody to go to wherever to get something done is just that much harder, even if it does benefit them, right? It's the reason why when we did our food hubs and why we have so many that are all throughout the communities that we've all been a part of, is because we understand that, yeah, it might only be 5 miles, but it's 5 miles, right? And so that 5 miles could mean an extra 15, 30 minutes combined each way. And so then it's not, feasible. That's what's important.
Right, and that extra time also involves your transportation, your childcare, whatever else you have going on, a varied work schedule, all of that, which we've talked about all these years together, so.
That's it. Well, Ms. Stevens, thank you so much. And Ms. Parkinson, thank you so much for your leadership as well. We certainly will make sure that we're supporting that when it comes to our efforts on the nonprofit side for the additional 2% tranches. So hopefully that'll be reflected in your budget as well.
Great.
So
Thank
thank
you
you very much.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. All right. We are going to go on. We have 2 more. That I think we'll be able to dispense of quickly. Colleagues, I apologize. We're right at 5:30, but the first one is certainly not something that is, I'm sorry, 4:30. Yes, thank you. Our Wheaton Arts and Cultural Center, and I see that we have Mr. Asant here. So Mr. Asant, if you could please come on down from DGS. We also have Ms. Jackson. Ms. Jackson, you pulled a long one today. So as from the Office of Management and Budget, I know that we have Ms. Jenkins. Ms. Jenkins, you don't have to come down if you don't. It's up to you. Okay. All right. Come on down. And then I want to turn to Councilmember Navarro because Councilmember Navarro's already talked a little bit about the vision. I will just say this, that it is very interesting to me that growing up in this area, and not far from Wheaton. I used to go to Wheaton a lot because Joni Reese's Wheaton Studio of Dance that was right there at the corner was where I spent every single weekend morning because my mother took my cousin Tiffany to dance classes there. And then Tamielle, when she started dance classes there. And so I would be bored out of my mind running around the parking lot at the donut shop. There were only 2 boys that were in, and I kept seeing their outfits, and I just couldn't get there. But, other forms of dance is great now, so, but it certainly is one where I spent a lot of time in Wheaton and understand about the cultural history that's there, as well as what can continue to be when we are blessed with having a center focused on this. And so with that, let me turn to District Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much to those who are here, Mr. Hassan, Ms. Jenkins, again, for believing and working towards this particular vision. It's so important to make this vision a reality. Many times we talk about how many languages are spoken at MCPS. We had that conversation when we were talking about the libraries. We were talking about Montgomery College, and we were talking about how diverse it is and how do you meet the needs of this extraordinarily vibrant community. We just had this other conversation with Arts and Humanities, and truly, I think we take it for granted how extraordinary this county is. How, in reality, it is an example of a microcosm of the nation and of the world, and how we celebrate our differences. And it's not always easy. It's not always perfect, but there's always this desire to do better. And so this concept, for me, when we were talking about the revitalization project, when we started putting our heads together around some options, this kept coming up. This notion that in a county like ours, where you have so many folks from so many different places, where that every time there is a festival of any particular, ethnicity or a celebration, it could be even religious, there's always this desire for everybody to participate. There's this curiosity. There's this sense that we learn from each other. And so to have a physical space that becomes a repository of that expression, it just seemed like it was truly something that was missing. And when you think about Wheaton, to me, it just made so much sense, because Wheaton also physically, I think, is the repository of so many different cultures, and the area surrounding it, right? I mean, when you think of the East County, it's so close. When you think of downtown Silver Spring, it's so close. There's just so many opportunities. And I remember when we began the meeting with the consultants about, the program of requirement and what this would look like, I shared the first time that I visited Little Haiti in Miami, and they have this extraordinarily beautiful arts and cultural center that also doubles as after school, has after school activities. It has different exhibitions. And when you walked in, I mean, everything just like shouted out at you that it was a celebration of Haitian art and culture from when you went to register, right? So, the actual desk was this beautiful art piece of Haitian painting that had lacquer on top of it. So you're literally leaning on it, from the way that the architecture inside of it mimics some of the architecture that you find in Haiti of the French time. I mean, it's just really, truly amazing. And I kept thinking, wouldn't it be cool to have a place where, hey, if I want to learn about, whatever, Haitian art, I can go there. There might be a lecture, or maybe there is, Thai dance, or maybe there is an opportunity, to learn about, Nigerian folk and traditions. That it is a place where we can, I think, extend the opportunity to get to know each other and to build community. And every day I run into people that say, hey, we have a collection of this type of art. We have a miniature collection of art. And they don't know even like where to exhibit that. So this is what this particular place hopefully will become. And I am very grateful that the executive has included funding to continue the process, especially when it comes to the site selection, because that is so important. A lot of work, as I said, has already taken place with the consultants to figure out what this might actually be, what the program of requirements will be. But of course, it will be up to future councils and folks who will continue to be in leadership positions, hopefully at the state level as well, to be mindful of the need to continue to fund this project so that Wheaton can finally have that physical space that will match all of this extraordinary, arts and cultural traditions. And so thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to just share some of the background. This has been taking place, this whole conversation and all the work has been going on for several years. And WUDAC has been very involved in this as well as just the community overall. There are a lot of community members that may not participate in WUDAC, but they know about it and they have asked for it. I think there's just general consensus throughout this area that this is something everybody would like to see, and hopefully it will be kind of the bookend to the Wheaton revitalization project as well. And with that, I just turn it over to you and just again expressing my appreciation for all of you who have already worked so much to get us to this particular space.
Well, thank you very much, Councilmember Navarro, and I want to turn to Mr. Assant to just walk us through, from the county executive's perspective, the project itself and give us a little detail in terms of what we can expect.
Sure. Thank you. Good afternoon. Greg Austin, Department of General Services, and thank you, Councilmember Navarro, for that replay. It's been quite a long haul, and we're still working towards a finish line. This latest funding will help us continue in the site selection process, as Councilmember Navarro noted. We began this with a feasibility study, which is attached in your packets. That gave us an idea of chances for success on a facility like this. More importantly, we rolled that into a program of requirements, which explained exactly what this facility does, what it is, how big it is, and so forth and so on. And so those two items are pretty consequential and completed at this point. We've moved into site selection, and as I think the committee understands and knows, that we have been looking at the Wheaton Gateway project as an opportunity. The county executive has also asked us to take a look at some other projects and locations and active projects. We're looking at one parking lot that the county owns, as well as another privately owned parcel. And so both of those site evaluations are ongoing, and the $50,000 that is in the PDF will help us continue those efforts, and if we need to hire outside consultants. And then more importantly, the $2 million that's in there will really help us in achieving the design piece of this. So when we are ready to move into design, find the right location. Of course, you'll be briefed and be part of that decision-making process. But beyond that, we'll be able to start design in concert with either a private partner or a public partner, or on our own. So we'll be back to brief you before any of that happens, obviously. But this is significant funding that'll help the project move forward, and we won't lose sight of it.
Well, thank you very much for that. Ms. Jenkins, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Just a few remarks. That first of all, I want to congratulate the county and Councilmember Navarro for this momentous occasion. This is pretty exciting. We've talked about this for a really long time, so I'm so excited, and I'm going to be here for the duration so that we can cut the ribbon together, hopefully. I hope so. And so I'm pretty excited to hear what you have to say. Mr. Assant, thank you very much for all of that. You know, I just want to say how incredibly important this is for Wheaton, because not only from an edifice standpoint, but when people see themselves, as we know, you know that you belong. And what I know for a fact in the research that we've been doing is that people do belong to Wheaton, but Wheaton doesn't seem to belong to them, right? We need to figure out how we let them know that they belong, and having a building that reflects the art and culture of the many different communities in Wheaton. I mean, I talk a lot about the Latinx communities that live there, but there are huge Vietnamese communities, Korean communities, Chinese communities, African communities in Wheaton, and a cultural arts center that says you belong here, and your stuff, the stuff that's important to you and your community, it's here. That will go a long way to move us towards the race equity disparities that we still see in the county. So I just wanted to say how important the Arts and Humanities Council believes that a Wheaton Cultural Arts Center is for the county, for the community, and for all of us who need to know that we belong in the place that we work and pay taxes. And lastly, I just want to go back again to this idea that we are working on this research for the cultural plan. Research is only until the end of this fiscal year, and then we'll be putting out a request for proposals or a request for qualifications for the cultural plan, knowing that we have funding for a Wheaton Cultural Arts Center is going to be really an important piece for us as we look back and we think about the master plan for the county going up to 2050. If we continue down that road, we want to know where things need to go, not just the squeaky wheel saying this is where it should go, but where we really see that the community growth and community involvement and community belonging needs to be placed. So I am very grateful from those particular standpoints. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Absolutely. So we have a council staff recommendation for approval of the FY23 to 28 recommended CIP with the Wheaton Arts and Cultural Center PDF as submitted by the county executive. And so without objection, I would just like to say one thing. It would be kind of nice. I mean, Councilmember Navarro's been at this for a while. I could see something named the Nancy Navarro Wheaton Arts and Cultural Center. Just saying. Just a constituent's, thought. But anyway, moving forward. So thank you very much. We appreciate that. We're going to move forward to our last item. So thank you, Ms. Jenkins. Thank you very much to Mr. Asant. And we are going to move into our last one, which is libraries, Noise Library for Young Children. This will be pro forma as well. And so let me turn it over to Ms. Chen. But I think that we have a CIP, so if we could just walk through the PDF quickly, and then we can dispense of this one as well.
Ms. Chen wanted me to walk you through it.
Ms. Lambert.
Deborah Lambert from the
You haven't
Office of
spoken
Management.
today, so this is great. It gives you an opportunity. She's sharing.
Deborah Lambert from the Office of Management and Budget. So what precipitated this change was the ability of the foundation to receive $525,000 in additional state aid. So their total is $950,000 that they've raised, plus the $525 is equal to $1.475 million. Because they came so close to their $1.6 million commitment, the county executive decided that he would provide the additional funding to allow this project to move forward in fiscal year 23 and not fiscal year 24. So the county has provided an additional $885,000 in general obligation bond funding in order to move the project forward. So the PDF has changed from a start date of fiscal year 24. We've moved it to fiscal year 23. The project will commence in terms of construction.
Thank you very much. That was excellent. Sure. I want to turn to Lead for Libraries, but just wanted to say again, this is an incredibly important project. We've been working on this for a very long time. Councilmember Navarro and I know all too well, and I know Ms. Lambert and Mr. Asant know as well. It's been a long time coming. So I appreciate the county executive saying, you know what, we're close enough. Let's go ahead and get this done. That is incredibly important, and it does matter so much, all joking aside, to the community. This is a great community asset. And so with that, our Lead for Libraries, Councilmember Juando.
Well, I'll just say amen. I mean, I think that I was very happy to see the development. So I'm just really glad that the county executive and OMB and recognized it, and really excited to get this going. It's been I've been here a few years and I'm ready for it. So I know folks that, and I know the children are ready for it, and the library folks are ready for it. So that's just a really exciting thing. Mr. Sant, did you have anything to add on? That's the only thing I would add.
Nothing at all. It's just we'll add that it has been a long road, as these projects often are, and a lot of credit goes out to the Friends of the Library. Over the years, their fundraising efforts we've been moving the goalposts as costs have increased. Right. Their fundraising efforts have been impacted, and they've persevered and hung in there. And we're finally at the point where we're able to get the full project funded. So we're as pleased to see that move forward as could be. And thank you for all your support along the way.
This is another one you both are going to have to come back for when that new noise library is opened. That'll be another one. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just to close, I really want to thank our state delegation who continues to really champion for great projects in our community, certainly understanding the need and the great role that our state delegation plays in terms of pushing many of these great projects across the finish line. So just want to show my appreciation to them. So without objection, colleagues, we are moving forward with the approval of that PDF, and that does conclude our business for the day. Thank you so much for all of your hard work. We are adjourned.
On or about August 30th, 2020, and will last until February 2020.